I just get one of those ice cream headaches where you just go, oh.
The climate change, the racism.
Oh my God, yeah.
The bigotry.
And they said, and he said, "You got the jab?" And I said, "No, I'm a colonizing, genocidal, white supremacist male in the eyes of the left. Like if you're hetero, and I'm not privileged and entitled, as feminists say. So I'm at the back of the freaking queue. That's your equality, you know." And they're saying, "Oh no, get the jab." And I said, "No, you want your fucking equality. Like I'm at the back of the queue, and probably won't get it, you know. So stick it where the sun don't shine." It's funny how it's suddenly equal and all egalitarian when it comes to a jab, but no equality in anything else of like getting hired or getting a spot anywhere. So that's my rant. Tell me I'm lying.
I got accused of being a white nationalist the other day. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Yeah. Anyway.
If you love your country, that's what it is now. It's a hate symbol. But I tell you, the other day, the friend of mine's in a union. They have the Eureka flag on the logo, like it's a left-wing union, construction union, like communist. And his daughter said, "I can't wear that hoodie. That's racist. The Eureka flag is racist." It's been identified with some obscure white nationalists.
What is it? Yeah, it just means that you care about your own country, but I guess the white European people over.
Yeah, I don't know who's using it.
And just because you've got black skin proves that you're a racist as well, for some reason.
That just seems to be just people obsessed with it. They can't shut up about racism, can they? It's like that card, that magic word you can bring out that's meant to cut you down, you know?
Leftism is in a religion in itself.
It's ironic because they're the most racist of the lot. Either the Democrats were the party of slavery and the KKK. They haven't really come to terms with it. Who was that bloke? Was that Robert Byrd, who was a Democrat? And Obama speaking at his funeral and Clinton's. "Oh, yes, well, he showed that this man can be, can be reformed and everything like that." And, I mean, that's amazing how forgiving they are to him, but other people that have done something racist, like in about 1946, they'll go, "Oh, my God." "Oh, my God, he's racist. Literally Hitler." Like Trump with David Duke and everything like that. Or what about Robert Byrd? You know about him, Misty? He was in the KKK in the 40s or something like that. Because the Democrats, I mean, what's changed? They want slavery now. They just want all these open borders. All these people coming in for cheap labour.
It's all about mental slavery to the state. That's the slavery that they obviously want, you know, that they advocate for.
They're the only ones that would do the slave labour, do the cheap labour. So they're brought in, I guess, well, I don't know about here, but you're probably talking about like Mexicans coming in.
Yeah. Do you remember, what's it called? Gina Reinhart. You remember how she fired a bunch of Aussies, you know, that were working for her to replace them with, from the country that she, imported them from. I forget the country they were from, but she replaced the Australian workers that she had with these migrants from another country so she could pay them what they were getting paid, obviously, back in their homeland.
Yeah,
that happened many years ago, though. Like
migrants come here, but they get shoved into the shitholes, like Dandenong, where I grew up, and I loved all my different friends from different countries. But yeah, now it just seems like as long as they can bring them here, I guess they're safer, and they've like now I think we're getting 4,000 Afghanis, which I feel better about because they took everyone that was going to get killed for going against the Taliban. And I just feel like they have a better, more understanding of what freedom is, and sort of, not take advantage of it like we have, like, those brought up in the suburbs that, I don't know. I've always whinged about being too bored, and then it's almost like, wow, this thing happened, and now it's like really interesting. It's like I don't have any good morals because I was brought up in suburban Australia. Are you talking, comrade?
Yeah,
No, you
I was just
nodding, or your head was.
I couldn't believe that the US Embassy in Kabul had the Pride flag flying above it during Pride Month in June.
The what?
The
US
country-
embassy?
In Kabul
Oh yeah.
had the Pride flag. They've had Islam in Afghanistan for 1,000 years. A Pride flag. I think.
Yeah, they're literally America, though, aren't they? Like, it's American soil.
Yeah, but I think they had a Black Lives Matter flag flying along there too. And probably painted on the bombs and stuff. For the Pride flag, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I think they're just that crazy. Do you know how it's changed? It's been happening for a while. I remember just after 7/11 or 9/11, it was on Four Corners. They had a documentary on the rights and conditions for women in Afghanistan. This hospital was unbelievable. It was just so filthy and so underfunded. It was terrible. It was almost like to get the public sympathy to go in there and do something, like justified. And I think that's a good thing. But trying to change their mind, because they went in there all just like, oh, we don't do nation building, just bomb the shit out of the place. Bin Laden had long gone anyway, but they just harvest a whole lot of money from the taxpayers, then go in there and just bomb the shit out of it, which helps the military industrial complex. And they start putting NGOs in there and trying to westernize the place. To eventually, at the end, where they have a pride flag, it goes full circle from the neocons, the Hawks, Bush, Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, all those evildoers, to a freaking pride flag at the end, which is another form of colonialism.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Colonialism, sticking this flag, and all these people upset of like, oh, all the women and children and all this, the ABCs. And I'm thinking, well, there's a bit of a underground gay contingent in Afghanistan. I mean, they're I seem to have forgotten about them. And sure, the women and children, but
it's really hilarious.
I think there's a certain amount of compassion you can have, but there's also I've worked with Afghans in demolition just after 9/11 and in Melbourne, and they keep an eye on their own community. And I get this feeling there's going to be a tug of war of where feminists and all these social justice charities are going to try and get Afghan women. I said, talk about, get the women and children out. They're going to try and feminize them and put the kids on hormone blockers. That's my prediction.
Hey, have you guys seen that what's it called? I don't know if he's still the Iranian prime minister or whatever, but did you see his speech? How he said that we should, be jealous of them because they don't have any gays in their country. Do you remember that? That was so hilarious. I was like, you say we should be jealous of that? Yeah, they'd rather that they have sex changes than them being gay. How warped is that?
Wow, that's Iran. Is that recently? Yeah. That's pretty hardcore, and that's what shits me about the West is the ingratitude of the BLT community.
Yeah.
The BLT plus the ingratitude, how they just won't stop. It's just so freaking petty now. They're starting to fight amongst each other. they're getting I think there's a group, the LGB are separating from the LGBT.
Well, I've heard of LGBTQIAAP before. Hey, my dinner's ready, so feel more than welcome to talk, Misty.
Oh, I don't know that much. I can't speak for anybody else, though. I try not to, like, I don't know, have opinions about the Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff. And that, yeah, the gay pride flag being flown over. That's kind of, yeah, a little bit twisted, because, like, who cares about your sexual identity? Because it's not your identity. It's just, yeah. So I don't know. It's weird. It's all crazy.
Oh, totally. And I'm just thinking that right thinking people, men and women, that just don't like all this bloody activism shoved down your throat, should just walk away and not defend any of it. Just opt out, like that Gandhi thing of disengagement. We don't have to do shit.
Yeah.
We just have to look after ourselves, look after our own. Because we'll be
And
young.
if someone were like, no, if someone were, you know, actually being racist against someone I knew, or a gay person I knew, or whatever, like, I'd stand up for them, but not on a mass scale. I really don't. It's not my concern. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh yeah, at my university now, the sort of new solution is to call out racism, or it's all, I think it's, did they have queer stuff? Yeah, I don't even know. It was just about and silence is violence, that was repeated. I thought that statement would go out, but this is at my, I don't know, just seeing it at Swinburne, it's just made it like, it's not just in my gender class that I take, the whole university is getting subjected to this. So I'd like to show up. I feel like I can't do my university unless I can, and I'm not going to stand up to racism. Fuck that. Someone will stab me. No, I don't know. I don't care if someone hurts me, but why is it my responsibility to call out racism? I don't even think that's a solution. It's not even the root cause. Like, my solution would be to go, you're a fucking idiot. Don't, you know, if you take that on, you know, then, you know what I mean? It's just sort of empty bullying. I don't even think that is racism.
Yeah.
And what is racism? If you ask someone what country they come from, like, racism these days is like,
even just the word, or anything.
You're from China, and they go, no, actually I'm Taiwanese or something. That's considered racism. Like, I don't know. I've watched my mum do this to people all through my life. So it's like, do I have to call my mother a racist because she can't understand how to socialize properly with Asians that are apparently so sensitive, which they probably aren't, you know? So that's another kind of colonialism, where we're forcing what we think is racist down their throats when they probably just want to go to university and not have their race put on a pedestal or shone, you know, having a light shine on it. It's just quite bizarre. And I'm sure they have something intelligent to say about that, but I want to just be able to ask the question. So I think that I'll feel better if I walk into my university and just go, I want to ask these questions so that I know, because, you know, I believe that you're intelligent enough, and I believe that I'm ignorant, and I am a middle-aged woman that's got children that is going to university in my 40s. And so I should be allowed to be ignorant and to ask questions instead of just being called a racist. It's just bizarre. And I just can't even function in the world unless I can just go and sit down and be able to ask these questions.
Just got to have the white shame automatically.
Yeah, well, like that's my personal problem. If I'm so sensitive that I can't face ridicule, because that's what I will face. So they also have that problem that they're going to prevent ridicule somehow, and that's going to end racism. Like that's going to end, like white nationalism has a real cause. I even studied this, like white nationalism comes out when people's, when they feel threatened as a group. So it's not even like a bad thing. It's just like a symptom of changing, like the changing in a negative way, where you're going to lose your safety. Like white nationalism just comes out, like you start wanting to protect your nationality, and it's just a symptom of something. So now they're just saying, no, you're racist, you're immoral, or, you know, it's not the right thing to do. So the solution is to just stop people talking their mind, and just not even replacing it with anything. Like if someone looks like a female, you're not even allowed to assume that they're a she. You have to be taught to say they until you know for sure what their pronoun is. And if they look female and you give them the wrong pronoun, they get angry at you. It's just a really bizarre thing to watch someone go, don't assume my gender. It's like, well, you look female, I'm sorry. Or don't you know that our culture, do you know what a female looks like to all of culture? Like suddenly culture's a different thing because you've been born, and you know, your opinion or what you've learned is the ultimate truth.
I'm a firm believer of just leaving them to it, because otherwise they're just trying to get you enmeshed in that mind fuck, go around in circles, and it's totally non-productive. All it is about just more state control. See, we all seen it happening for ages, all this political correctness stuff.
There might be, you know, I want to be able to speak openly with black people. Like I'm going to do a black lady's hair tomorrow. And I'm so afraid to even bring it up. The fact that she's black and she might have a different life than me because she's black. You know what I mean? But yeah, I want to be able to.
She's not American, is she, like from
South African. But when I was a kid and I lived in a town predominantly full of black people, like I know there was some racism, but we didn't notice it. We were just all friends. And you didn't learn about racism until you got older. And then like it becomes an issue. And like, so it is like, it's hard to know what's legitimate and what's the social construct or whatever, you know?
Well, that's what they want,
I'm
is
sure
confusion and walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
And I'm just too stubborn and too belligerent to be told what to do by people that are the most privileged generation ever, to be talked down to by these young, dumb, full of cum idiots that don't know anything. They can, as far as I'm concerned, they can just get out of my life. You know, that's why I'm living like a hermit. See people on my terms. I just can't stand it. I just really can't stand it. I don't know how you go to university, Maureen, or anything like just to be on it, you know.
If I'm interested in finishing university, I have to. There's no point if I do just leave them to it. I'm not going to sit in a class and be silent. Like I actually feel like I should be locked in a mental asylum. Like my heart is beating out of my chest. I'm sick. Like it made me physically ill sitting there listening to these poor kids bullying this older woman who said, I'm confused by all the genders that are on Facebook. Like she was specific about Facebook. She wasn't saying genders in general. She was just like, oh, there's 56 available. I'm confused. That's all she said. And then they pointed their finger.
So why hang around? Statement. If you know your history, you'll look at the Cultural Revolution.
Oh, there was only 4 of them.
In China.
Yeah.
You studied the Cultural Revolution in China in the 60s? Because Mao was irrelevant. Mao started to become irrelevant, and there was Zhou Enlai and all these other people trying to take his position. So Mao, to reinvent himself and reinvigorate the country, got all his red guards, all his students, all his young people to just go down and tear down all the past, rip it all down, go around all the villages, all these red guards, all this the old people go, me, you're all fogey, me, you don't know anything. And they just started destroying all the history and pulling down statues. I'm not sure if that's many correlations today of pulling down statues and destroying the past. But and it just killed so many people and just destabilized so much that a lot of the history people didn't have anything to fall back on anymore. They didn't know where they were or anything. And then it was just the civil war started about who was more revolutionary than who was more revolutionary and virtuous. Total shit show. And seeing it now, a whole cultural revolution, the same thing of destroying the past. And so people take their eyes off the ball, which is actually just living having some morals and knowing who you are and standing on your own 2 feet as independent thinking person, that's part of a greater whole. That's been my philosophy of I want to be independent free thinking, but I'll happily work in a chain, work in a gang, work in a group, work in a collective, because that's what we do, it's really uplifting. And the university, when I hear about the university, I just think, oh my God, what are you going to come out? What skills are you going to come out with these young bucks? Not that I care. I pass the baton to them, I'm the patriarchy, I just pass the baton. I've had my time in the front lines.
Well, if there was no one else there that felt the same as me, which is totally untrue. If you go, this is what I get hope when I'm on Facebook. I always go to the comments section and they always complain that they have to shut off the comments because, because they're derogatory or whatever, but they're not just, it's not just that they're derogatory. People don't know how to express, without anger. But I mean, they're not being, I read the comments and then they fucking delete them. So you can't even see what people are. But the mild ones that are against, they're just questioning, and there's a lot of them. I reckon there was only 4 people in that class and the rest were just too scared to kind of say anything. But that to me says 4 out of 30 of us were the extreme. And like China, I just think of that things might repeat, but they're never going to be the same. Like we are living in like China didn't have social media. They're not the West. They're not like coddled Australia where we've grown up, with lovely, my parents were just lovely Aussies from, Oakley and Sale, and they're just lovely country people, and they were all kind of mild Christians, and I could say I had a bit of trauma or whatever, but I still had a lovely upbringing with freedom, and no one would dare to take your freedom from country people. Maybe, I don't know. Like it's just different is what I think. We can say that it's repeating, but will they kill lots of us? Yeah,
they want to.
I want to.
Yeah, you can just see it just building up, getting more and more stupid, and just trying to get their own way and push results, and nitpicking, right down to little things like phrases or even how to address somebody, and not even forgiving. It's just retarded. And I think if you draw away, you just leave them to it, and they'll just start attacking each other. I just take myself out of the equation where I'm an obvious.
I don't want to be so sensitive
threat to them
as well. I think maybe you used to fight more, and I never did, and now I don't want to fight, but I want to be kind of involved instead of completely on the outside. Or I used to just listen to. I used to follow the popular view of the popular view of the 90s uni students when I wasn't. Which is similar to now, but yeah. We had lots of gay and trans-looking people, and it was all fun, and that was the underground. Like that seemed to fit. You just lived this with the weirdos, and now what the hell are they trying to make mainstream accept?
Because they're being told they're oppressed, and when you get told you're oppressed, you can justify any amount of bullying.
Well, it's like being oppressed showed that you were a free thinker. Like being oppressed by the common people was like a compliment, because you were, you know.
Well, yeah, like Kate, I was sort of in the punk thing briefly, but I moved on because people just seemed to stay there. To me, it was just more or less just like an attitude of just do your own thing, you know, record your own music, think for yourself, forge your own direction. Yeah, it's a lot of freedom. And like all those words now, diversity, inclusion, they just make me wince. But back then, no one gave a shit.
Yeah, well, you know, them saying that they're oppressed, to me, you know, they're not oppressed. They're pathetic.
Well, there's money to be gained from being a victim. There's certain countries I can think of, south of Lebanon, a certain country with surrounded by a certain region, that they both do really well at being perennial victims. They get a lot of aid, a lot of help, and you get other people just get all emotional and, oh my God, gotta help these people, more refugees, more foreign aid. And at the expense of what's happening here. But the feeling I get, Australia, is like you get the floor sweepings from England and your Irish rebels, etc., and some Scottish rebels, and you get second-rate soldiers and administrators. And then after that, to form the public service, they had convicts in the public service. And then you had opportunists to come here, graziers, your squatters. And so opportunists that just come here and milk it, and it's just had successive mobs of people milking it, with this elite government milking it, that just make their laws for themselves. And for some retarded reason, maybe it's because they are weak in their second-rate leaders, that they've let this current retardation take hold. Because, I mean, if it does follow the theory of infiltration of the universities by certain intellectuals from the Frankfurt School, and to where now it's like the press, the media, and the government, and academia and advertising are all retarded now. We're all got that same freaking mindset of basically the war against the working class people. Build more high rise for all the lumpen proletariat, and make it okay to camp down by the rivers, like up in the Goulburn River. They say you can camp down by the river now. Why would you want to do that when we're just so environmentally aware? And I think it's for people to live like gypsies along the riverbanks. Where else are people going to live? There's tents already around the back of Abbotsford. So I'm fascinated about where it's leading. At the moment, it's just heading towards that. That's my 2 cents worth. My inner dolphin is telling me that.
Yeah, well, you know, them saying that they're oppressed, you know, that's just an excuse. It's just an excuse to obviously not fulfill their potential.
Yeah, well, it's heavily reliant on government money. Without any government money, feminism, the BLT, all this other left-wing stuff would just go down the shit chute.
What deserves to.
Well, yeah, it produces nothing but a whole lot of confusion. It was relevant once. What do they say? Specious, you know, like giving, you know, recognising Aborigines as people on the census, giving them the vote. But now yeah, and you know, not sidelining. I've never known anybody not to have a job if they were gay. And matter of fact, the theatre, the whole entertainment industry is being as gay as a $2 bill forever. I can't think when it wasn't gay. You ever read that book, Hollywood Babylon?
Mm.
That debauchery in the 1920s. Oh my God. I mean,
It's a highly skilled thing to be, what is it, actors and
yeah.
just crew in general.
Matter of fact, if you're not gay, you don't get anywhere. I worked in the theatre for 10 years, like Playbox and the Arts Centre and Anfield Theatre, pushing boxes, setting up stages, getting, you know, saying, could you come in now, and just racing in there for a bloody 12-hour shift. I didn't get a reach around, that's for sure. There was a time where if you did put a lot of time in and worked hard and show enthusiasm, you could probably, you know, graduate to stage manager. But I saw a lot of people elevated, you know, above me that were just blow-ins, you know, because, you know, they had all friends there and they're all part of that lot. So, yeah, they're going to bang on about oppression. They could just keep on banging on about it, because eventually it's just going to run its course where they just get sick of it. They'll just end up really mentally ill for being so dishonest with themselves. There's a piper's always got to be paid.
Well, yeah, I listen a lot to the TERFs, the full TERFs that now have decided not to even use proper pronouns. So, I mean, it's interesting because it makes sense that they're, but it's just going to be a bigger divide. And I sort of lose interest when they completely go one-sided and go, well, there's no trans people, they're all autogonophilic. When if you placed trans people among them and had this open dialogue, then you would just see, yes, I've known a few trans people through the 80s and not 80s, 90s, from the late 90s, and I can never understand it, but it's obviously their reality. She's my main friend. She never would say I'm a biological female. So it's just one of those highly complex things that you can't, you know, and the trans argument is that they will get killed or commit suicide if we don't just call them literally female. Like, that's the argument. But then I guess they're trying to put in, you've got XXY and all these multiple chromosomes. So, you know, that conversation has to be had.
They'll commit suicide.
You can go, well, if there's still only less than 10% that have something different to XX or XY, and then, you know, being...
Well, it's 1 in 300 people are trans. So it's not even 1%.
Oh, they would give you different statistics. You just can't know anything unless they're sitting there next to you, and unless I can openly give them everything I learned from the other side. It's like I need both sides there.
Oh, I heard that from Bill Maher, you know, that it's 1 in 300 people.
Yeah, okay. But well, he would... why doesn't he have...
He's not that right-wing, really. I mean, he's not a left-hand either, but yeah.
He'll never have trans people on his show because he is considered the enemy, even though he's fairly left-wing. You know, he's very anti-Trump anyway. And
yeah.
Yeah, in that.
But I mean, you know, he was right in what he said, that unless the Democrats, you know, ditch, you know,
Hillary?
Political correctness,
Oh, yeah.
then they should expect to, you know, continue to obviously, you know, for people to not obviously want to vote for them.
Yeah. Well, he's
Like
literally
he said
blamed.
before, it's why smart people vote Republican, he said, because they hate the political correctness. You know,
Yeah,
they
and
can't
because he
stand it.
didn't
Right?
adopt it, he's a total enemy of the left because they actually will blame him for getting Trump elected because he should have just been on their side. So
Well, he had a show called Politically Incorrect in the 90s.
yeah, right, yeah. I heard about it a lot, and I thought I should watch it because I was too young to
But yeah, he was
Australia,
trying to
they
make the
would've-
point back then
I
that,
didn't even know Dave Chappelle until he came back, you know.
oh yeah, I remember him from Year 8. But yeah,
Well,
Bill
that would have
Maher
been
was-
when he came back, because he was around in the 80s and early 90s, and then he took off for 10 years because he wasn't going to toe the line, which shouldn't be rare.
Good
But
on
it's-
him.
he's a hero, because I don't think any other entertainer did that. Or
But they still called him a white supremacist anyway, retardedly
and
enough.
he makes fun of trans people, and he's got that same idea that he knows they exist, but there's a lot of bullshit going on.
Yeah.
And yeah,
But yeah, like Bill Maher's been calling out political correctness, like I'd said, since the 90s, you know, I think the early 90s, when he obviously did that show before, obviously, Real Time.
yeah. Yeah, well, specifically with Dave Chappelle, he was told to tone down his comedy because he was just exposing everything.
Mm.
He was being told, no, you're being, and so he was being politically incorrect. And that's what he turned down $50 million and moved to, was it Ohio?
I don't know, but he called
Went
out
to
that,
Africa for 2 years. He wanted to kind of just explore himself. So he went to Africa,
yeah,
and then when he returned, he just bought a farm and had, I think he had 4 or 5 kids. And then after 10 years of that, he returned to comedy. And then that's when he came onto the scene down here, I think, because it was only the last 5, I don't know. Maybe it was the last, he's been around for a while, but he's been huge, you know, the last 3 or 4 years,
Mm.
mainly because he's not following that politically correct. And most of us love him for it.
Yeah.
Because you can sense in a human way that you're being, you know, it's real art, like any art. It's just showing the full spectrum of life instead of, you know, like I watch a lot of programs. It's like, oh yeah, there's the token lesbian. I make fun of my daughter but they'll usually have a lesbian. They usually have the black person or a couple. So they've got to have, you know, 3 or 4, and they can't be in the low, you know, they have to kind of inhabit. And that is the reality of the world. So why not show that in a TV show or movie? But it's when it's sort of, I don't know, they're skewered towards, I don't know.
Well, anyway, Dave Chappelle, he called out those consent forms back when I was in Year 8. You know, that we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, like the
There 3.5 months
Year
ago.
8, when you're in Year 8. So
Yeah, 2004. Comrade Pinks, what do you think of consent forms?
Beg your pardon?
What do you think of consent forms?
Is that sex consent?
Yeah.
Retarded.
not surprising. It has to be the end result of this prescribed. It is, you know, prescribed society. Like if you're going to prescribe how we should act between men and women, then you, and it's logical that you have this contract. And if they both agree, then that's the kind of relationship they're going to have.
I mean, isn't that some
Suppose.
Stalinism there promoting that shit, saying that we have to have them, otherwise it's rape? Isn't that being basically a Stalinist?
It's like not knowing that you have entered in a relationship with someone of the opposite sex, or I guess it'd have to be for same sex and other, you know, wouldn't they? Or are they exempt from a consent form because they're the only ones maybe that live an authentic life? So if you're straight, so we're actually considered, if you're straight, that you are the brainwashed, you know, bourgeois crowd, which is pretty laughable, that white people and straight people occupy upper middle class, you know.
Well, it's the only way that humans are created. You know, heteronormativity is the only way that it happens.
Yeah, so it's normal in the natural human sense.
Overpopulated?
What?
Aren't we
Oh yeah, overpopulation. Yeah, overpopulation. I reckon there's a natural, like gay people are probably introduced by the collective as a natural form of curbing overpopulation. You know, so being gay, yeah, like has a natural effect, but just it's pretty normal to question, you know, power dynamics between men and women. Like there's definitely a natural, but we both have the different hormones, but I've spent most of my life as a passive female. So, you know, my patterns of trying to take power would be kind of skewered, and I've had to learn, you know, I've taken advantage of any power I grab onto because I'll assume I was a victim, you know. And I've suggested the fact that I was a naive girl is the reason why I allowed myself to be a victim, because I'm a free human being. Or am I a female that doesn't have any, you know, freedom of choice? What do you call that? Agency. They use that a lot in sociology.
You've got a lot of freedom with reproductive freedom.
Yeah, well, that's a problem, isn't it? Like all we've got is abortion.
Choice.
And then instead of
look at all the choice your females have. It's a lot of reproductive choice.
Instead of just becoming open and allowing people to be, you know, then we'll fight for abortion rights instead of looking for, you know, solutions to unwanted pregnancy. And because I don't think abortion is a solution, but it's, if you really can't have the pregnancy, then you have to have an abortion. And people will say, oh, you chose to have the sex. You know, that's a lot to talk about. So that's, to me, is where the power dynamics and why I was I was allowed to be a naive young girl instead of just taught, you know, having a consent form. I don't know what I was meant to be taught. You can't really teach everyone. Everyone's going to have incompetent parents. My parents were just very Catholic. That's why I think I didn't learn the kind of what you need to learn about sex, you know, in a very logical way and a philosophical way, you know, to question who you are as an existence.
Yeah, my sex education was just, Dad didn't tell me anything, but just took me to some crackly movie at school at night time where it just showed in the most scientific, clinical way, you know, a cross-section of sex organs, you know.
Mm.
You know, here's the pancreas, here's the liver, here's the gallbladder, here's the penis, here's the vagina, etc. And it was weird. It was weird. That was about it. It was about it. Then you just sort of left to it. The 70s are really permissive. It seemed to get, like, had your sex revolution in the 60s, and Australia, it sort of happened in the 70s where you see more titties on TV and in movies. You know, it was a real shame because it was a real experimental period, but it just sort of just delved into bloody titties, yeah, TNA.
Titties.
Was
it was
bizarre.
crazy. It was crazy. So you just, it was just out of control. It was just out of control, and I think
You know what I think's out of control? Twerking. That's way fucking out of control.
What's that? Twerking.
That needs to stop immediately.
Well, what is it? It's 20 years after 1999 was the late 90s was a surge in like girls flashing their tits at concerts and stuff. You would be interested in this. It was actually called, and it was organised by the people that did the 1969 big music festival. What was it called?
Woodstock.
Yeah, it was Woodstock 99.
Ah,
Yeah, that was 94.
Oh, it's just this amazing, like, whole documentary about the difference between the 69 one and the 99 one, and how
I think it was the 94 one, actually.
like early 90s. Yeah, there was a 94 one, but this documentary was about the 99 one. And
Oh, okay.
it was good. The end of it, they fucking set fire to everything because it was set up by multinational kind of corporate sponsorship, but it was the same dude as an older guy who did Woodstock 68, 69. And he was into money, like he was into the chaos and the music, but they broke through the fence, and he was pissed off that they didn't make enough, but he was still happy about it. And then the 99 one was just so corporatized, and the girls were getting, sexually molested, but you only heard about it years later because they knew, they were running around with their tits out as this new kind of sexual revolution, because the early 90s was all about grunge, and girls were, we just wore baggy jeans and, shaggy dyed hair, and then there was a backlash towards the late 90s where music became aggressive again, like they had Korn and...
Oh yeah, I remember Korn. I mean, I don't remember them well, but like I think that I saw them in a South Park episode.
Yeah, they were a bit more just all about aggression, but the who was it? Oh, bloody.
But yeah, no, I never heard of the 1999 Woodstock Festival. Never.
Oh,
heard
you
of
have
that.
to watch this. It was just amazing. Limp Bizkit played, and the crowd was so. There was just this whole domino effect of shitty, it was done on a massive airport, from a military airport, so they loved that it was fenced in and there was a big area, and then they had less water. They were charging for water. They tried to give them water. They had crappy toilets, and then they had a culture of back to male aggression, and they had, have you heard of the movies Girls Gone Wild? And
Yes.
girls were starting to get back into porn, porn was being accepted as it is now, that it's a perfectly, normal thing to do compared to any other job. So because girls' sexuality is, they're free to be as sexual as boys are, because that's what equality is.
I remember when I was in year 8, and they used to have women, what's it called? It was like strip news, pretty much. It wasn't called strip news, but that was pretty much what the women on there did. And, this was on like late at night, early hours.
Yeah, right. So that's about late 90s?
No, it was when I was in high school. And like
year 8 for me, that was 1988.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, for me.
It would have been like late 90s, yeah.
Well, for me, it was 2004.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'm getting really tired and I've got to get back to the kids, so I better
Wrap it up.
I don't know. It's a good topic. I get tired very quickly and then I lose my thoughts, but
Yeah. Well, I can understand more.
I've been going to bed at about 10, but actually I'm not getting a very good sleep the last few nights, so
we had a pretty massive Zoom, obviously last week, 7 hours. I was hoping that Em could come on here for the first time ever.
Well, she will, yeah, it'll happen. And
yeah, well, I gotta, say, like, when are you free so you can come on?
Misty's hooked, so I think all of us are hooked. Like Mark is just so hooked, and Kate's always great.
And I'm like, finally, it's happening.
Harry's back. Sorry, I don't want to use. I mean, like, if you're using a fake name, like it's a reason it's there. And then we're using real names, outing each other. That's okay. I think.
Yeah, but I'm not visually outing myself.
Well, I just come up with my surname, and my husband, I don't know. I mean, he knows that we're not affiliated with each other, in our separate lives. And this is for me a social experiment. It's not meant to be anything for anyone. That's what makes it maybe like a neutral space. So maybe this is the only, and I want to learn how to explain what it is so that people actually join instead of assume. Everyone's assuming that it's just going to be them getting angry. They just assume they're going to have whatever they think their opposition is. But yeah, the couple of people that wanted to join, they're the opposition that they're cringy of, those people wouldn't come on unless they were just listening, because it's really boring just to have people ranting and yelling. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, you know, the most interesting thing is that when two people or two parties don't really agree, and you know, they you know, have to, like, basically the challenge is put forward to them, like, are you able to find a middle ground to compromise?
yeah, maybe. Well, you might say that, but I've learned that I don't know what it is, but it might not be that. Like, that is how you come up with solutions, isn't it? Compromise. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what your end result has to be. But where I am is like, I literally can't understand an issue unless I hear.
Both sides.
I'm forcing myself to listen to people that, you know how you put on a YouTube video and you go, oh, fuck you, after 30 seconds. I actually make myself keep watching. That's why I've been watching Dan Andrews and Gladys, because it's like, I do trust you guys and you would have some points, but like, if I follow down that track that Dan is all lies, I don't know, I feel like I'm missing a lot, because he's obviously still in power. I kind of think, I don't know if he would win again, because he's smart enough. It's going to be interesting. It feels like Dan Andrews.
Well, I mean, you know, as much as I hate the guy, he still has his job, despite the you know, massively suspicious, you know, obviously hotel quarantine saga.
Well,
You
because
know,
they're all shit. Like, I think he's unlucky that he's a shit politician and suddenly he's in the spotlight and where all eyes are on him. So that's what I think. I actually have seen so many politicians. You seem to take more notice, but I feel like I've been there through listening to my dad whinge about politicians, and
yeah.
you know, like listening to people who were there, you know, during Gough Whitlam. I was pretty young, and it just seemed like they were all shit. So here, you know, here's one, and he's having to do what he, I don't know, what would his opposition do? I imagine what reality we could be in, and it's just as valid. Like, we could have had open, you know, just lots of cases, lots of people, not lots of people dying, but you know, enough for us to be shocked and whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like
reality, like it seems to have randomly appeared, surely. Although some people have, what's the word, controlled it.
well, yeah, I mean, it's just so massively suspicious, you know. I mean, there's like I said, you know, I mean, there's no way that private security contracts sign themselves. You know, there's no way that he can't remember anything important, you know, in the last 3 months.
Yeah, so it
You
is
know?
it's controlled in the way that lefties
And he was getting paid a fortune too.
and he's a lefty, and there's no other lefty, so he has to be the one. So of course they're not going to allow him to get fired, or you know, whatever, if he's towing the line, the lefty line.
Well, he was getting paid $395,000. You know, obviously, you know, when that shit hit the fan, and he gave himself, you know, a very substantial pay rise. I'm trying to remember what it was again. I think it was like 40 something thousand pay rise he gave himself, so he could obviously pay, you know, others to, you know, get him off. You know, I mean, if that was really an independent inquiry, how was he able to be on trial last? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the reason why I don't show interest in those things is because I know they're corrupt, but I don't know how they're corrupt. Like, I only just watched something about Anita Hill. You know, you hear about Anita Hill all the time and shit. You can't find out because it's a he said, she said thing. But it was very interesting back then. So I probably would show interest in, well, I don't know. It seems like it doesn't matter if Dan did anything that should get him fired. People want his solution because it is it is going to protect people, even though they're going to be slaves. Like that is the choice people have made. And I know I made that choice, but now I don't want to be a slave. I've got myself out of debt, but I'm very lucky to have. I also think hundreds of thousands of people were in my position where they're in all this debt, but if they sold their house, they would have up to $500,000 of cash in their hand, and they could buy anywhere in any country area and be away from the masses and the, you know, whatever they're upset about. Oh, I'm in debt. Oh, I have to work for these people that, you know, like people that have high, not just high paying jobs, but they, you know, they make our music or they make our movies, and they know that they're publicizing, or they're a journalist or something, or work for, they know that they're promoting, or they know they're supporting corruption, but they'll still do it. Like any young politician has to accept that Dan Andrews is corrupt in all those backdoor ways.
But they don't care. All they care about is what he represents, which is status.
Yeah, like he's corrupt in a money way. Like I suppose Friendly Geordies is going after John Barilaro, who's the Deputy Premier of New South Wales.
Yeah.
You sort of wonder why he's choosing that corruption. I guess, you know, he's saying that they've destroyed the Murray-Darling, and that it does sound really corrupt. Like Dan Andrews' accusations are about incompetence. So that's sort of equally bad. You don't want an incompetent leader so now that they fucked up and there's cases, then you know, we could have not let Delta into our country. Is that
That's
possible?
right. We imported it from
Or is
India,
it just too?
where we knew where it was so bad.
Yeah.
Well, did you because remember what we were talking about end of last Zoom about Pinochet? Did you do research on him the last week?
Yeah, totally.
You did?
Yeah.
You looked him up?
I remember. Yeah, it's been interesting. And then I read a little bit and watched something, and then whenever I hear his name, because, you know, words will come up through the week and you'll go, oh, Pinochet, there's a reference. Someone referenced him as a total, you know, totalitarian. So it's very up in the air a little, isn't it? He made the economy really great. So he has that kind of, what did they call it? It was capitalism, social capitalism, or he wasn't going to go communist or socialist.
No, he was extremely anti that. He, you know, killed communists.
Well, yeah, because they were so leftist. It was the context of what was happening there.
Yeah, exactly.
Existed. So the leftists were destroying the joint.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
the people were like, oh, fuck them. And he was like, yeah, fuck them. And he killed 3,000, which is apparently very little compared to
Yeah, that's right.
what you would expect. But then he did it in horrific ways. And he probably just got caught up in the moment or something.
Yeah,
like
well,
what you're saying, humans are horrible. Imagine like the climate where he had to, what did he do? Drop them out of planes?
helicopters.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
we
paranoia
have to
comes with
decide
the
whether
job.
Yeah.
And he became increasingly more paranoid, obviously, the longer he was in the job for, which, you know, literally every dictator's like that.
So you'd say he was on that, you've got to always be on that scale of being like a psychopath or sociopathic.
Well, I mean, I have seen that he's said to be, you know, the very top right-hand corner of the little compass, you know, pardon
you
me,
have to
but
be
to me,
power hungry at least, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And he was, he had a, you know, military background, and you know, like you said, you know, correctly, Chile, you know, had depleted resources, you know.
So leftists just couldn't agree with
like they
that.
were running out of shit, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
it's bizarre. If you're a communist now, you have to deny that or something, or you'd have to just make up, you have to fill in the blanks as to why Pinochet, because I just love reading comments, because you're seeing all these people say, oh, he did a great job, but yeah, you know, a bit of a prick, but, and then you'll see the pro-communist types, or you know, were they communists, the lefties that were trying to overthrow the government and blow everything?
Well, I can't tell you 100%, right, that literally every person he threw out of a helicopter, I can't tell you that it was 100% deserved, that all of them deserved that, right? But I do know that for the people that are like Stalinists, you know, people in the top left-hand corner, right? I don't know who obviously all of them are, but
Yeah.
I know that they do deserve that because they are the enemy of our country, you know, our freedom and our quality of life.
To me, they're like, they must have a mental illness. So how did these people who should have been maybe locked up or like led to madness because of their desire for control so much that they want it, that they need to kill for it? I don't know if it leads to madness. It's quite a bizarre thing to want that kind of control. And you can function normally in society and still you want to kill everyone that's
so you're kind of would you say, well, you see, you know, obviously both the pros and cons of Pinochetism?
Oh yeah, because you have to compare him to other leaders and how the country evened out, and how every single country and all through history with his blood and war and death and you know, mass rape and you can't expect,
right? They only care about their own human rights, you know, and to me, no, fuck that, right? With an attitude like that, like your human rights are the only human rights that don't matter.
Do you agree with this, that they have perfect human rights, so they can't be relaxed unless everyone else's human rights are as great as what they have? So they,
because I mean, you've seen before how I've posted that they're not compatible. If you know what I'm saying, our human rights and their human rights aren't compatible.
Who's they? There?
The top left-hand corner. You know, the communists.
Yeah, well, that's
you know,
yeah.
The 1% most authoritarian leftists in the country, every country.
Yeah, I think all I was trying to say, like, yeah, you're probably right that, and you would look at the details of it, and I'd probably be interested in the details, but I can see like that what is the core? If
Well,
they're
not compatible because, you know, they want us, you know, they have this BDSM fetish of you know, everyone has to be fucked by the government, you know, that they want obviously security over freedom, you know.
Don't they think they'll control the government? Like all the people will just be in equal control and the government won't exist as it is. So if they take control, then there will be a lovely government instead of the government they have.
Well, yeah, like I guess, you know, from their point of view, it's you know, what's it called? They believe in socially engineering evil out of society. From their point of view.
So it's sort of, it's that first point, like of existence, like where philosophy is missing somehow. They seem to think sociology is a science. They call it social sciences, but all it is you research, get some statistics, and then you make the decision about what to do with those statistics. And that end part is just not scientific. That's where you have to probably go pure, I think they're called dialectics in philosophy, where you have to know that your reality, your opinion and your ideas are never going to match up with other people's. So it's just purely about discussing and disagreeing and proving your points, and which is a constant thing of like offending each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I don't believe in obviously murdering everyone, or, you know, everyone being murdered that doesn't agree with, with me, because
Well, yeah, it's this
I mean,
sickness
I
that
do have a friend who is, like, I mean, I wouldn't say he's a Pinochetist, but, like me, he is a fascist, in that sense, if you get what I'm saying, because we recognize, well, some people
yeah,
have
right.
to be oppressed. if
Maybe
you
that's
get
the
what I'm saying.
difference. You're literally admitting that you want a solution, and that solution involves making a choice that you've got to kill off some people, because that's
Like,
that's all you can do with them.
I'm not saying that, like, I'm not bloodthirsty, right? And
Yeah.
I don't really think that I'm evil. I obviously want to be as good as I possibly can, but
It's
I
about
kind of
someone
see-
making the choice.
yeah, I kind of see it that, well,
They wanted him there.
what
The people
they
wanted him there, and they got what the only way he knew how, which was to get rid of them, as that, weren't
Yeah.
they?
because
rounding up people?
that, what's it called? Sometimes evil is necessary to obviously, eliminate
Oh,
a
because
far
their
worse.
government got in, wasn't it? So they got the far left government in, wasn't
Oh
it?
yeah,
By a
democratically
minority,
elected.
but
That's
sort of
right.
by a minority, like by a kind of a cheating way in. He only got 30%, but it was some sort of way they, So that's when Pinochet.
Allende won, and he did get to run Chile, and he ran it into the ground. Like,
Yeah.
running
Oh
out
yeah. It was like
toothpaste.
20 years or something, was it? Or like.
September 1973.
So it was like a whole.
That was when he,
decades.
that's when he came in.
So where did the leftists come in? Wasn't he on? They were still trying to destroy everything.
Yeah, that was between 1970 and 1973.
Okay, and then he started doing what they said.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
he obviously the murders happened from the very start, of course, because he
Yeah,
had
so they were
kill Allende.
disappearing people.
Yeah, to obviously then take his place.
And then he did it out in the open instead of. Well, he
Well-
did torture people though.
I mean, I understand the complexity of, evil to get rid of evil. I do understand that. But, like, to me, their evil is so bad that we can't afford to let them have the chance to be able to, take over our lives, if you get what I'm saying,
But it seems like he did it on the behalf of the people that couldn't stand up.
yeah, well, like Marky
Yeah.
said earlier, right? Every dictator believes that they're doing the right thing. And he believed that he was, an angel sent from, by God.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Are they Catholic? What is
The
that?
The
USSR
music
national
shit.
anthem.
Oh yeah.
Even the music shit.
But that bloke Allende, wasn't he like Chavez? Just wanted to nationalize everything, just free stuff for everybody.
No, what are we doing? I've got to get my kids to
We're
bed.
talking about Pinochetism.
I feel like reality has.
Did you look him up? Perry, I think you should, because, he obviously murdered the top left-hand corner, the communists.
How dare you, comrade?
We've got this lovely male cat, and I can recognize that he's different to the females that I've always had. Like, he's just into fun, and he's very affectionate, and he's got less fear.
Still wearing the East German uniform? No.
East
It would have
Germany
been
was
funny if you were wearing the East German uniform.
behind the wall, behind the wall.
Yeah, I'm in bed now. I had my ration of gruel and
I've got so
Borscht.
much food, bad food. We just went to Aldi and just got all of our addictions.
So would you say, Maureen, then you have researched him more, so you do see the reasoning for Pinochetism,
Yeah.
the rationale for it?
Well, yeah, now I want to watch some footage of that time and just get a sense of, because it is all context, I think.
Well, you were alive, during the Pinochet era.
I got a couple of girls in my class from there. So I think that they did have some, but it could have been at the time. So that's what I'd want to understand more. When was the time that people were leaving Chile? Probably before Pinochet came in. And then would they have, I mean, maybe all those people he killed, when he started killing the first few, wouldn't you want to get the rest of them out? I mean, that's what's going to happen in Afghanistan. Did they get everyone out of Afghanistan that were on, Westerners' side?
No, there were Americans that died.
Yeah, well, they had that bombing. That was pretty bizarre. But then they said they got the last day. Wasn't that today? America's left the last of their planes. Like it's just exciting history, isn't it? Like we can't do anything about that, but talk about it, and marvel at.
Yeah,
in the world.
but basically, what I want to finish, Pinochet on is that I mean, I think he's been painted obviously as a villain, because of obviously what's it called, because of what he did, but I see
there were other villains.
Yeah, exactly. That was
brought up just like Trump. A lot of people know that about Trump. They brought up when they're needed, and I think it's lovely that the ones against the leftists. Well, look who we've brought up, Jordan Peterson. Like we've brought these people up into the center, and it's like some of those. Like he seems to be the ultimate, and then there's ones around him, like and even Joe Rogan, who gets millions of views. They tried to put him down as
and he's really good. He's a good lefty.
I mean, you'd just laugh if anyone tried to cast him as the enemy anymore, because he's just so huge and he just gets anyone on that he wants, and he just talks openly. And he's not perfect because he's a big tough bloke, and no one can be perfect, but we've raised them up ourselves. So I can only be positive, I think, about the future. And then the world's broken up, so they should let people travel to safer countries, and then I guess to sort of monitor, like in England, that place is fucked, where they just let more than 10% of a town just be not just Muslim. I mean, you'd want to have that huge discussion about the religion of Islam. That's a huge thing. That apparently there's moderates and then different levels of extreme, but even moderate, they just have very strong views about men and women, and aren't compatible. So then if you got more than 10%, then they kind of take over as because they're a unified force, and then everyone else is just divided into families. And
but like what you said about the Triple K, obviously that they're a small minority, and
might have grown a little bit.
I kind of think, well, if you're a fuckwit, right, as in like, stop people from being free, if you get what I'm saying. You destroy their freedom or their quality of life. To me, why shouldn't you be physically removed? So obviously, you are no longer able to obviously, be a negative effect on people, if you get what I'm saying, You're never able, you're not able to screw people over anymore.
Like they're banging on about KKK. It might have grown a little, but it's not like people allow the KKK.
Because I kind of think
they're being allowed free speech, so
Yeah.
now they're trying to shut them down. But you physically can't shut down a group like that unless you force it on them if they're not doing anything wrong. But then you have to force other people. I don't know.
Yeah.
They seem maybe that even gets stronger. Who knows?
I mean, what if you are an extremist that gets rid of extremists? What do you think of that?
Sounds pretty extreme.
I don't know. Extremists, yeah. It's
Oh,
weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you
Putting
make
my
a good point.
opinion into it, because what do I think extremists are? Even the leftists, I have a kind of a positive view on the hard left, because in America and here, they're a joke because they're just middle-class kids running around, throwing flares or whatever. I think the protesters, the anti-vaccine protesters, brought flares because they were trying, just that small marauding group wanted to come across as tougher than Antifa, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So they're playing a game, but then I guess then it can, but I don't know, it's like, yeah, sorry.
Like I was saying earlier about,
Yeah.
It's almost a romance about, it's a revolution and we're taking on we're dismantling and decolonizing. And it really annoyed me for a while. I thought, fuck, how retarded. But I think, let them go for it. Let them go for it. Like, defend yourself, but the only way they'll find out is when it's just a whole pile of ruins, a big smoking crater, and they're just going to sit around and go, well, what are we going to do now?
Well, the reason why I don't think that's going to happen is because I think that the corporations are funding these games. So, we were brought up, well, I don't know. We were lucky enough to be in times where there was actual free thought and creative, and you see it in your art and culture, music and stuff. And today, God, I'm being forced to listen to Triple J because I've got an old car, which I like. It's a form of misery that I have to physically change instead of whinging. Oh, all I get to hear is Triple J with their bullshit music, except they got one cool song. And it's corporations that are funding. I don't know why they would fund trans stuff. Maybe it's just because it's popular. They want to go, look at us, we're popular culture, we're relevant, and then you're just spending money, and that's all that's happening really. And then they're running around the streets. But I don't know. I guess this COVID one, I mean, I shouldn't feel excited about it, but other people are worse about it. Like, people say they love lockdown, they love it. They hate people, and they hate society. They don't spend money. They don't care if businesses fail.
I love it when those people lose elections and, obviously they revolt and, are like, this is the revolution. And I love being able to say the revolution was election day. And you lost.
That's the only change you can hope for. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Because if we lose Dan Andrews, this is why I think I'm like I am. If we lose Dan Andrews, we get the fucking alternative bloody Liberal government, and they don't give a shit about the natural environment. They're kind of all for corporations. And if they're...
I have to say, I really have been unimpressed with the Liberals at how pathetic they are. They're pathetically weak. They're pretty much they're the coalition, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, it's Malcolm
Because they roll
Turnbull.
over.
I don't know much. I know even less about the Liberals, and I know not much about Labor. But I like Labor supporters. I like people that just vote straight Labor. They just seem kind of classic Aussie instead of I'm voting Greens, but Labor. Labor's racist, but they're all we've got or something. Yeah.
I think the Liberals want socialism as badly as the left.
But only
Just
because
looking
it's
at-
popular, only because it's well funded and they can control
Well,
them.
I see it that they, they basically just slow
They want
down
socialism.
the decline, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Or do they know what they want? They just sort of, I don't know. I'm just looking at the New South Wales Liberal government. Like the kind of corporations that build these bullshit crumbling towers all over the city, Melbourne and now Sydney.
Oh, that the 5G towers? Marky's been telling me about that.
I just mean the buildings, like apartment buildings are built very below standard. And it's because corporations are just getting away with the cheapest of cheap in every sense, from the way they design, and they'll hire big architects for the original plan, and then they will get these crappy idiots who will just cut corners as to what the the ones with the money. I don't think they have any kind of idea about building, but they'll know the regulations to rort, and it's just terrifying. I think it was a Friendly Geordies one, just exposing, like people will go and inspect these buildings, and these are like high rises in the city, most of them. They're like 80-90%. These people went and audited or checked out whether they had faults, and every single one of them had faults, and some had multiple serious faults in the foundations and the building. And these are in our cities that we're choosing to live around. I'm just surprised that more haven't left for the country yet, but we're sitting out in the country. There's hardly any services out here. Like, I mean, I'm wanting some fucking counselling, God damn it. And there's like a team of 4 in the whole of Gippsland, I think.
I think that the worst thing that that Kennett did was cut the services in the country.
And I thought Dan Andrews had done it because it's quite a high drug taking communities, but I think now maybe they're hidden because they're in their houses. So who knows? Don't they have to, like, I just worry about my local people up the street that in order to take the drugs they're taking, they have to start moving into criminal activity, as in robbing people, rather than they just sort of they have kind of little banks of where they deal to their friends, so they're making enough so they can take it every day.
I mean, you were talking about Afghanistan before, so if you like, we can return to that issue. How funny was it when they were interviewing Joe Biden, and he said, "That was 4 or 5 days ago, man."
What was this on?
They were interviewing Joe Biden, and they
I
asked him
cringe.
about what was the deal with Afghanistan there, and he said, "That was like 4 or 5 days ago, man."
So what he was saying, get over it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think I'm just avoiding Joe Biden because, I mean, me and my daughter will sit there discussing it, and then I'll go, but he'll be gone and they'll have Kamala Harris. And I don't know how terrible she is, but I just don't know what could be worse. Just let them have their first woman president. Get that shit out of the way. She's probably better than Clinton by 1,000-fold. I think maybe they know they can't hide anymore. Like, it is to me all about what the culture chooses. Like, we can't really control each other, but as a group, as a whole, if we choose someone like with Pinochet, there's all that context of how he got there and what was needed. And that
yeah, I hope I explained well. Obviously,
well, what seems good is that what's the good outcome after all the arguing about whether he's bad or not? Look at after he left, which he handed back to them, that
Hmm.
was meant to be a really good act for him.
Well, they straight up said that we may not, we don't agree with, his human right abuses, but
Yeah.
we can't deny, obviously, how strong he's made the economy.
Yeah, and the end point is that every government since him used his same tactics or whatever, his same theory.
Well, it grew 11% the Chilean economy in 1992. Just after.
What about since
was
then? I
dictated.
heard it's gone up massively, like over the. It's only been.
Yeah, I mean, what 1984 to 1999?
Was
There
it?
was only 1 year of contracted economic growth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And then he handed it back that year.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that's right. I think I'm remembering correctly. I think 1999 was a bad year. I think that was the year that they contracted.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
I'd have to look back at the Trump
few,
years.
very, very few years of, economic contraction in Chile, from 84 onwards.
Yeah. And they probably couldn't see it back then, but in 10 years, we're going to look back at the Trump years and then Obama before, and we're actually going to be able to go, this is what happened, and see it, the next generation that aren't emotionally tied up with, Trump as the buffoon and, Obama was the first black president and then he turned out to kind of backflip or whatever, you can see all that stuff clearly. Which, a lot of people your age and younger seem to take everything in a more logical, not logical, but intellectual way. That's why seems like the millennials, they make people put the millennials down, but I guess some go one way and some go another. So, and I hate to say, but it seems to be the kind of feminism idea that it's sort of a very female way to think, like a baseline female where you use emotion and social etiquette to run. You've got to be nice to everyone, but then it's like, well, how do you be nice to people taking advantage of you? Well, you just be passive aggressive and bitchy instead of to shut people out who are hurting the community. Like what are they going to do with trans people when all these self-identifying men who look men but say, oh, I'm a female, I do, and they just can't help abusing groups of women, whether in prison or if they were like, oh, I've been in a domestic violence, and then they put them in a shelter with just women living in houses, and there's this bloke. It's just, and it's such, I don't know what kind of leaders are letting that shit happen and just ignoring it because it's like the desire to be right, and that is what I'm seeing in a lot of women. Women are like, we've got to fight for the team of women, so you've got to win. Did you see Johnny Depp? This all makes me positive. Like Johnny Depp won his case against his ex, who was accusing him of domestic violence, but he countersued her and had enough evidence that she had been abusing him, I think.
Yeah.
Instead, and she's this little blonde girl. So it'd be interesting to look into that. But he's just arrived. It's like he's back in Hollywood, and yeah, you can't accuse him. I think Jeffrey Rush didn't do anything. He's a great actor.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him before.
Yeah, I just watched him in Shine because he did a lot of his movies through the 90s. Yeah, but they're still.
He did a movie with Jackie Chan, didn't he, Jeffrey Rush?
He did a lot of Hollywood movies, but yeah, I wouldn't have seen that one.
Because I have heard of him before from one film, but
this one, Shine, he's not autistic, but he's on that kind of, he's a brilliant piano player. He's a real guy. Mm. Yeah, he.
Sorry, computer lagging. Trying to look up Jeffrey Rush.
I want to go to bed. I know that I can stay up longer. I know that you're enjoying it, but I have to go.
Oh,
Is
you
that
want to
okay?
go now, do you?
Yeah, I might. Well, if Perry's still around. Oh, sorry, comrade.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just chilling out. It's good to listen.
Well, you two go at it. I'll just drop off and keep it recording. I'll stop the recording.
Yeah, no
And,
worries.
Yeah, well, if next Sunday's my birthday, then whatever. We'll do
Yeah,
something.
I'd
Yeah.
be more than happy to be part of your birthday
Okay.
stream.
All right then. So today's Tuesday. We'll have
Yeah, I might say goodnight.
this Sunday. So it's less than 5 days.
Yeah, I won't keep you, comrade.
Dos Vidania. It's it was really good to listen. I bloody some days I feel really optimistic. I think, yeah, this will be good. You know, there'll be
Sunday
or
some days.
just this insanity will pass eventually, and people will just think, I'm just tired of all this stuff, and just let us live our lives, and we're grown up enough to take responsibility for all our stuff rather than be micromanaged by some idiot that can't admit that he's wrong, you know? That's why I don't trust Sutton or the Labor, Liberal, the whole lot of them, but they just won't admit they've made mistakes.
Yeah.
And just that slimy media, they give me the creeps. Sky News, the whole fucking lot of them. And, and the left, these stupid lefties that I know that they say, oh, and, you know, if anything conservative's bad, you know, it's bad. Oh, Trump's bad, all bad, all bad. And you just see the way that Biden carried on with the fuck up of Afghanistan, like closing Bagram Air Base, which was exclusively a United States air base. They just closed it. They just left.
Yeah, right.
Left all this gear there, just turned the lights out, then start departing a civilian air base. That is just totally crazy. You think they know what they're doing. They're doing this for a reason. You're doing it for a reason. I don't know why. But they left just seem to be so dominant in every field now, although they make it seem like, oh, there's right-wing everywhere, it's right-wing media. You think, are you kidding?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
there's Murdoch, but he's a bloody traitor. He's a globalist.
Oh, yeah.
There's all this globalism that people are going, oh, you're right-wing, you're left-wing, left-wing. They just seem to just be totally oblivious to this globalist agenda that's just, everybody's just,
Exactly.
all the people in positions of power and influence are all on board. If they're not on board, they're just excluded. They're shut down the platforms, you know, or what are they doing now? Burning people's phones out. You know, that there's all this sort of talk of data collection and people's phones being deactivated. There'll be more of that stuff because they're just scared of any pushback. They just want to dominate the whole thing and have the whole just keep on pumping the propaganda uninterrupted.
Would you call China globalist when they've brainwashed their people, but they're trying to dominate the world? That's not globalism, isn't?
Well, it seems like the UN seems to be the one that touches every country, and the World Health Organization.
Yeah, so globalism, which I did learn in uni, they were trying to suggest that it wasn't a bad thing, but then they were giving the other side like, well, this is why people don't like globalism. They weren't saying they were racist or nationalist, but I can't even remember. Like they were just like, oh, globalism's the only reality. That's just the future. You know, that's just where we are. Instead of, I guess then they start talking about multinationals and.
Well, what I don't like is just the attacks on white European, the constant attacks of that on us, all these books like White Fragility, all this fucking white privilege garbage.
Absolute trash, yep.
and uplifting low IQ, unproductive cultures to like saint-like status. It is just totally ridiculous. And
Well,
protecting them.
This is why my university, there's so many intelligent the girls as well, but it seems like the young guys are really well at articulating their side. They sound a bit conservative, but they're just really good at economics, or, you know, they just remember all the shit and the history. And I just can't imagine them going to uni and having to do this white fragility training, which is on the front page. It's like, I don't know, I guess it's just there online, and then you go to your classes and you learn different shit, but underlying the kind of philosophy of the school, although no one believes it. But like, if you go to class, you know, the reason why I'm impressed with these young guys, they actually seem like they're autistic because none of this pressure touches them. They're just interested in knowledge. And all the fuckwits that are, oh, you're offending me, oh, you've got the wrong attitude. There's just this whole group of students where it just doesn't touch them, and I think that relates to a lot of international students that are interested in knowledge. Like, they're just like, oh, what the fuck are you going on about? Like, it's just like a popularity contest. Like, and they'll argue with you, but, you know, I'm there getting so sensitive because I'm so fucking sensitive to all the who's getting offended, and, oh, are they going to offend me, and I'm going to get upset. It's like, why don't I just talk the knowledge? But, you know, it comes from the teachers. So if you're in a genders class, you'll have to, although, you know, sociology, it's like 99% women. Like, you really have to look at it and go, the sociology department, women, and then 2 gay guys and a couple of non-binary, and then a couple of, you know, males, cute males whose mother was a feminist or something. And then you go to the political science group, and they're mostly males.
What a diverse bunch.
Well, that's just my experience. So, I mean, I'm just overly sensitive. I just think I am not worthy of, you know, coming in and changing university. And like you said, just dropping out. Because I don't know, maybe I'm just not the type to go against the grain like that in that kind of setting. And you do have to just let it fall. And that is how I've decided. Like,
It's full on abuse.
Well, I can finish my degree. I can finish it doing philosophy, anything but sociology, or I can just change my major. I've had some good experiences. I'd probably love to come in with a video camera or secret recording and just broadcast what the fuck these students are teaching each other through manipulation, through intimidation, and how the teachers either let it happen or, you know, whatever they do. Sociology is just where you're meant to just talk about shit and you don't get anywhere, but you learn the theories and the kind of, you just read a whole shitload of articles.
Yes, that's why productive people should just opt out. Stop being like beta tax providers and just opt out and not feed the beast, not feed the machine. Just let it.
But then we have to live out here in this kind of broken countryside. You know, I mean, I've got unfortunate neighbours. They're okay, but I think there's a lot of people like that out here where they have to just survive, and they'll take what they can get, and you have to be well cashed up maybe, or because all the doctors are private. I mean, I can just drive up to Traralgon or whatever.
Yeah,
doing that. I want to go to Foster 20 minutes down the road and get free services, and yeah.
I mean, Perry, when you say what's it called, you know, putting up low IQ, you know, cultures on a pedestal, you're talking, of course, about countries like Cameroon and Mozambique.
There's just heaps of them that they blame colonization, and it's all just highly selective. Like, oh, a white man held them back, a white man put them down, and they seem to forget that before colonization, it was just as brutal. There was even bigger massacres in a lot of those countries amongst, intertribal.
Disease actually killed most people.
Yeah. I think your Bantus or your Zulus, they had massive brawls. That was just fucking incredible. In fact, a lot of them would go to the white settlements for protection to get away from the other tribes bashing the shit out of each other. But now it's all just one-way street. And I think people believe it and just unquestioning it now, just jumping up and down. I think it's pretty pathetic. I think it's fucking pathetic, because I think things have got to be questioned. They've got to be picked apart. I mean, they're all picking apart Western culture and just degrading it, shitting in their own nest. And that's where I think the only way they're going to learn is just to let it crash and let those people have to fend for themselves and let us know how it works out. Because 10 years' time, I'll be fine. I'll still be growing my own stuff. Fishing, I'll know how to survive. And, if there's a whole horde of COVID zombies come over there, I've got chainsaws and machetes and a few cannibal recipes up my sleeve. I'll be all right. But this mob, I think retarded is the word. Retarded. Because you know much about the French Revolution, that writings of Rousseau influenced the French Revolution.
I know France had a lot of problems back then.
Yeah. Well, you get your decadent monarchies, and they're just gorging on the excess.
Oh, shit! Maureen's left. Damn, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, she froze and left out. She's probably just run out of steam.
Oh, okay, yeah. Au revoir to her then. Yeah.
Yeah, well, French Revolution, they put the noble savage on a pedestal, thought that we were corrupted because we're industrialized, and the noble savage was just simple and living with the elements, and they should be revered. And around the time of the French Revolution, they sent a few ships out in the world, the French, and to spread the word about Enlightenment principles. And they said, if we see the noble savage naked, we shall meet him on his own and be naked ourselves.
Yeah.
So the ships ended up around Tasmania, a couple of French ships, and they saw a bunch of naked Aborigines on the shore. And sure enough, the French stripped off naked. The first French to come ashore in Tasmania were naked, which would have been really a spit out for the Aborigines.
Well, did you know that Prince Philip asked the Aborigines? I think that it was a bit of tongue in cheek. I don't think he was unironically asking him this, but he asked them, "Do you still throw spears?"
God, he was.
Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear that. But he did have those sort of foot in the mouth moments, didn't he?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, he might have been trying to break the ice, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. What did they say?
I don't know, but it was hilarious. I loved hearing that. Yeah.
He was a weirdo, that bloke. Yeah, he was a.
I wouldn't say he was an angel by any means, though. Because I do think he had he played a role or a part in Agenda 21.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Obviously with fucking the climate change,
They are freaking weirdos. I think they did some deals. Oh, I don't know. God knows how many deals they've done, but quite a lot of, London is owned by the Saudis, the Saudi royal family. Harrods, I think, like a British institution. And I think there was somewhere else where they had all this stuff going on behind the scenes, where they'll give themselves awards, have these little parties and do deals. A bit like Dan Andrews recently, he got an award. He was with Josh Frydenberg, like the
Oh
federal-
my God, he actually got it.
Yeah, there was some
Oh,
Jewish
God.
shindig,
Oh, my
and Dan Andrews made a speech, like the Jews be oppressed forever, rah rah rah, and
So he's
no
he's
social
like
distancing.
so we have an Andrew Cuomo equivalent then.
Pretty well. It's although I think Andrew Cuomo was brawling with the Jews a bit. I think the Jews had
Oh.
a big mask burning party last year.
I do love the fact he had
The
his
Orthodox.
Emmy was confiscated though. I do love the fact that that happened.
Yeah,
You know, that really was some justice right there, you know. It'd be great if the same thing could happen to Daniel Andrews.
well, politics always ends in tears.
Mm.
No matter who's in, they often die the death of 1,000 cuts. And his
Yeah, because
term-
even Howard was even he lost his seat when he was prime minister.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was 11 years of that bloke, and
Yeah.
it was just seemed to go into this inertia. And he seemed to be a globalist as well, like that Port Arthur thing.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. What's your theory about that? That you reckon that was like a setup or something?
No idea, but that bloke was a loony at school. It's like he was an outcast at school, and I think he
Martin
would go
Bryan.
home to his his
Yeah.
mother. I think he lived in Newtown in Tassie, and
Yeah.
I knew a couple of blokes who went to school with him from Hobart, and
Mm.
his mother was a freaking weirdo, and there's a lot of blokes that get brought up by single mothers that they're just
Yeah.
a bit deranged.
Mm.
Some get through it.
Well, then there you are. Where was his father?
I
you know?
don't know, mate. There was something that was inherited of the Tats Lotto empire. Maybe he died or something, or maybe.
Because
I don't know.
have you heard about how bad it is? What's it called? When a child did not have their dad. If you get what I'm saying, like you've heard about that, yeah? How so many households where their dad has not raised them, or their dad hasn't been there to raise them. It's gone pear-shaped, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've heard that there are, statistics to support that, to back that up.
Yeah. I watched a good film by African American man Tommy Sotomayor, Fatherless America, and it is harrowing. He says he said from like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it's gone steadily downhill for the black people, where preponderance of abortions, of Planned Parenthood, and single motherhood. As you know, the majority of men in jail are from single mother homes.
Yeah.
And he said that the difference between the white community and the black community, men will often marry several times, or the women will marry several times. But in the black community, you'll just get women that will have, and the men will have kids to several different partners.
Yeah.
Or baby
that's
daddies,
really
or
bad.
baby mamas, they call them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you get baby mamas, and the alimony. I think child support's really fascist in America, where you go to jail if you just stop paying it. What a mess! And all these things have got to be fixed up. But no matter what party you vote for, those things won't change, because I think it would involve women losing their rights, and I can't see any women voting to lose their rights, forgive any rights.
Oh, well, I mean, I certainly think that we should obviously have equal rights and equal responsibilities. I mean, I have heard, of course, the argument being made that, well, we should criminalize criticism of women. But really, I actually think that makes them misogynist. What makes them say, that, women, can't handle criticism. If you get what I'm saying, that in a way I think is misogynist.
Yeah.
Because obviously we, of course, are criticized, and no one's ever, said that there should be a law criminalizing, obviously, criticism of men. And I don't think, obviously, that should happen either, because, we should just have to learn how to take it, just like they should have to.
Yeah. Well, I think men should be in charge. I think, to quote Allah, peace be upon him, as narrated by the Prophet.
I have to admit, the one thing I like about the Taliban is their unapologeticness, that their gender pronouns are he, him. Yeah, I do like that one aspect about the Taliban.
Yeah, I think the left are slowly learning that Islam is actually quite a sexist and misogynist religion. After all this time, they're realizing it. I mean, the elites knew it all along. That's why they want open borders and all this bullshit.
Yeah.
But on the ground, at a local communistic level, they're starting to realize that. And that's why feminists are saying, "Oh, get the women and children out." And as narrated by the Prophet, never shall a people prosper who make a woman their ruler. Sahih al-Bukhari 7099. That's when the Prophet was told that there was a woman to be installed in the throne in Persia.
I don't know about that though, man, because I do like the fact that Thatcher did put, the leftists, the leftards in their place, You
Islamophobe. That's the words from the Prophet.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the left. They've just been so, they're just so misty-eyed and romantic. It's like, oh, refugees. They don't realise if they bring women and children here that are Muslim, they'll try and turn them into feminists. They don't realise that in Islam, the penalty for apostasy is death.
Yeah.
That it's basically says, quoting from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that fighting is prescribed for you. Perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you. And perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not. The whole thing is based on warfare, whether you like it or not, because Allah knows better. And these clowns have been opening the door for them. You go into a place anywhere and there'll be like pictures of people, there'll be an ad, there'll be somebody with a hijab, and there'll be a person of color, and there'll be an Asian person, and white people are slowly pushed out. And, there's like diversity. And it's just so cringy and so ridiculous that I think, well, okay, I'll boycott that fucking company. Yet another company struck off the list, because if you just can't be yourselves, you have to jump on the bandwagon with all this bullshit when they're obviously pissing in your pocket and tell you it's raining. You get a new thing like now, oh, there's not enough black surgeons. Oh, really? Has there been people, pickets there stopping black people from going into medical college, has there? Yeah. Not enough black people. So all it means, everything the left say, basically the bottom line is money. That's all the left are interested in, is just money. Ironically, they're all after equality and stateless and open borders. But all they want is just money. It's all about like, oh, more helping for women, and the gender wage gap, then the superannuation wage gap, and now domestic violence. And oh my God, there's been $1 billion spent on domestic violence for women.
I don't think they care so much about money, but rather power.
Well, the money gives them the power, doesn't it? You get the funding. You
the
purchasing
purchasing power. Yeah, that's right. That's true.
You take the funding away, if it's a society collapses, like the government stops printing money and pumping it in,
Yeah.
because where I live, there's like what? Yeah, have you seen them? The Orange Door.
No, I've never heard of that.
They're like these hubs that Dan Andrews were because he's such a ass licker, Oh, there's the recommendation for the Royal Commission of the 221 recommendations. We're going to implement every single one. There was right. He was giving away clues.
Yeah.
Years ago. Like this Rosie Batty stuff. Oh, every single one.
Oh yeah, she danced on her son's grave. That was so low. Not literally, I mean metaphorically, of course, with obviously, all her, for the feminist narrative, if you get what I'm saying.
Really, I was just spun out by that stuff. It comes to I don't know, God, should I say it? She had a husband that was a bit of a spinner, a bit of a loony, and there was a custody thing, and she gives him the kid unsupervised. And I mean, women's supposed to be really good at, intuition and instinct, and just letting that happen. You think, how much do they really care about kids? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, what a fucking bastard.
Yeah.
Like murdering his, literal child with a cricket bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like,
Women
how
are
the
good at
fuck?
spotting
How the
bullshit.
fuck could you give your child up, your literal child, to someone like that? Because, I mean, I think from memory, when I heard her on the radio, she was saying that, she knew that he wasn't a good guy.
Yeah. Why hand over the kid?
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is, I was feeling vulnerable.
And
I was
everyone,
feeling frightened. What the
everyone
fuck? Just get in the
totally-
car and drive away.
everyone totally overlooks the fact that it was a male child that was the victim of that.
Well, the real victim here are women. I mean, they did a Vox Populi a while ago, and they were saying, who's the most oppressed people? In history, who are the most oppressed people? And everybody said those people that live south of Lebanon with the little hats.
The Jews.
Yeah.
We're going to be in trouble, aren't we?
Well, that's what it was. Yeah, it was Jews.
I don't think Maureen will be able to upload this part of the stream.
Well, that was what was happening in the Vox Pop. You asked most people who's the most oppressed, because it's really excellent PR. My initial thought was children. They'd have to be the most abused and the most oppressed people. Kids. You think the way they've just been shunted around and used as pawns in divorce and in domestic violence now, and now with hormone blockers, sex education. Before they could even.
I'd hate to be a literal child today. That's for sure.
Oh, it'd be terrible.
Yeah.
With this
So
hick
true.
town that I moved to, I thought, fuck, I'm glad I'm out of Melbourne, fucking Mangina town,
Yeah, thank
And-
fuck this shit didn't happen a quarter of a century ago. Otherwise, I'd
Oh,
have been fucked.
And yeah, I moved to this hick town, and I thought, oh, good, just great to be in a normal sort of country town, where there's, just normal people, and you get here and it's like, stop gender-based violence against women, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? What does that even mean? Gender-based? I thought gender was a social construct. And oh fuck, and 12 days of gender activism, and there's all these kids walking around like, stop the violence, stop the violence. There's kids on the footpath. I had this march where they blocked off all these streets and all these teachers, probably all feminist teachers down here, and all these kids, and these kids are looking at me really weird when I look at the footpath, and I thought, oh fuck, there goes the next generation. Fuck, they're going to listen to all this shit, have all this shit pumped into them. And now they're building one of these orange doors on the main street. I saw one pop up in Heidelberg. It's got like a gay pride sticker, A very nondescript building, just orange door, and it's a domestic violence hub. It's got Aboriginal paintings in there, so
Yeah.
it's a whole domestic
Oppression
violence
Olympics?
hub.
Oh,
So they
right.
spent $1 billion on domestic violence, and not one shelter for men that is government funded.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, I think from memory, I think the male gender what makes up about 40% of the domestic violence cases, isn't that right? About 40 in the early 40s. It's certainly at least a third. I know
God
that
knows.
much. I know it's
God-
at least a third.
God knows.
But you would think that, well, if our gender, the male gender, is a third of the domestic violence cases,
Yeah.
then we should have a third of the domestic violence shelters.
Yeah, I thought it was about 50-50, really, or even more, like women being big abusers of children. And
I don't have a problem with women having more when obviously it happens to them more than half the time. But, you know, I mean, it shouldn't be that, you know, there shouldn't be any domestic violence shelters for men when, you know, it's happened to us at least a third of the time, probably 2/5.
well, what it's painted at on the surface is violence against women, like physical violence, like giving them black eyes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But once you get sucked into the system, which is like this shadow state that would do Stalin proud. In fact, they even quote Stalin in there.
Oh, God.
You know, I go in there saying, what the hell am I doing here? I didn't even, she threatened to kill me. She said, you're here for a reason, comrade. And I thought, fuck, that is straight out of Stalin.
Yeah. Yeah,
When they had them
exactly.
there. What am I doing here, comrade? You're here for a reason, comrade. You have been denounced, and that is enough. You just must confess now, otherwise we shall put electrodes on testicles. Then send you to Gulag. So, once you get sucked into it, so on the surface, it's like, you know, giving her a black eye, you know, a male and a wife beater going, yeah, you're on the bench. But you get sucked into it, and then you realize you get told all this sort of, through the Duluth model, all these types of violence, the emotional, financial, sexual, spiritual, religious.
Yeah, you can
violence.
really get fucked over. Like, you know, thanks for sending me you know, that red pill video that I was, you know, movie that I was able to watch on YouTube. And you know, they legit said that legally they can actually, you know, perform domestic violence on you. And if they break a nail hitting you, they can actually take you to court for domestic violence, even though, you know, she hurt herself hitting you.
Yeah, they've got all the exits closed off. That she was hitting you because you had abused her and she was scared of you.
Yeah.
And so she could actually stab you and get off, probably not even go to jail. She could stab. Now, it's just lucky there's not more women that are out of control.
Yeah. And did you see...
Than there already are.
Did you see... I'm not totally sure what the name of that show was, but did you see on like that talk show, kind of like Oprah, where they were celebrating this Sheila for, I think she cut off her man's dick. Did you hear about that or something? She
Was
cut
that the
off
one
his dick.
There was a couple. There was one that in the 90s or something, the Bobbitt, where she threw it out of the car.
Yeah, and they were legit laughing at that and making fun of it, as opposed to saying how fucking disgusting that shit was. Obviously, you know, that she did that.
And there was another one, Catherine something. Another Vietnamese woman. She cut, and I think Bill Burr talks about it. Cut his dick off and threw it in the food disposal thing, and
yeah, that's exactly what I'm remembering. Yeah, threw it in the disposal, and they were legit like fucking giving that a standing ovation, and I was just absolutely disgusted.
Wow. Yeah, I missed that. I just remember Bill Burr putting in his routine and
Yeah.
saying the difference between the abuse on men that people think is hilarious, and then the difference between how women what'll happen when there's a woman. Like, yeah, can you imagine a man cutting a woman's titty off and throwing the dryer? Yeah, the whole world would stop still. Yeah. And there's some strange lack, I suppose it's just a lack of empathy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Towards
And
men like that, how expendable we are.
I have no problem with, respecting women, right? But at the same time, I mean, I think us guys, of course, we should be able to, expect in return, obviously to be appreciated for it.
I think there's this big biological difference of where we won't be. We won't ever be. And that's why I think Allah knows and we do not. That.
Well, I do like the fact that, that obviously they aren't feminists.
Did you see that?
I do like that aspect about them.
Did you see that woman there was that woman that was interviewing the Taliban saying, well, you've got to put any women in positions of power? And the Taliban, which are normally very serious about everything, serious about blowing up Buddhist statues and
thought that was the most hilariously retarded thing they'd ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this woman, you're going to be inclusive and have women in your government. And the Taliban commanders, they just started laughing and just said, look, turn the camera off, turn it off. And they were laughing. That's the first time I've seen the Taliban laugh.
Yeah.
And they're playing the game saying, we're going to be inclusive, under Sharia rules. And I'm thinking it'll just have to get to that stage in the West that when that happened, when Kabul fell, I was looking at Sky News comments section, and there's women in there saying, I wouldn't mind the Taliban if they had marched into Melbourne and kicked Dan Andrews out. And you think, I think there's just, eventually you'll get to a stage where they'll just get so sick of all this woke bullshit and society being so directionless and rudderless and corrupt and lack of morals that where it's off the chain now, like that we were talking last time about that San Francisco Gay Men's Choir, We're Coming for Your Children.
Yeah, that's right. That was very disturbing.
And you got that song, and then because I go a lot on symbolism. I'm not that bright, really. I'm not that intuitive, but I go on symbolism. And you got that song with their gay pride flag, and you got the gay pride flag in country towns and Pride Month, and the pride flag above Kabul, the US Embassy. And now feminists are saying, get the women and children out. Oh, you want the children, do you? Oh, you didn't really worry about the children before, but now you want the children. Why do you want the children? Because we're coming for your children. You've got to be out of your mind to listen to these people.
Yeah.
And to support that whole...
It's the thing you don't say.
Yeah. And, and that retardation in the West where they've just shown no gratitude at all, but just push more and more to where Maureen is talking about this university, which sounds like Lord of the Flies. It sounds freaking horrible.
Yeah.
That why feed it? Why even subject yourself to it? What a waste of time. That it's best left to its own, so it could just thrash around, just eat itself. I mean, they'll eventually probably have to get marches in the street and pulling people out of their houses and, only burning them or something like that, burning them alive or something. It's
But I mean, like this is why I'm like Pinochetism is the solution. Because obviously that shit's not tolerated.
But that just hinges on one bloke.
Well,
know, they,
I mean, he's no longer alive now. He died when I was in year 10, at the end of year 10,
yeah,
2006. You know, but I mean, he had the right idea, man. Like, I don't think he was perfect, but he had the right idea.
but it's not really. It didn't really go anywhere just for the length of his reign. I mean,
What do you mean by that? Because we were just saying how, you know, all those, you know, that economic growth that obviously Chile had.
yeah.
for all
And
those
what
years.
happened after? I'm trying to remember Chile afterwards. Has it been an economic powerhouse in South America? I mean, you don't really hear that much, do you? Is it just pretty
Yeah,
stable?
that they were saying that, yeah, it was the most economically prosperous country in all of South America.
Yeah, yeah. I guess if it persists after he goes, like if you set up a dynasty or something like that, because you get dynasties and some of them go for a couple of 100 years that have their golden age, and some just for the length of them, say like your Idi Amin or your Francisco Franco,
Yeah.
or your Chavez. Or
What was Idi Amin like? I heard he was a dictator.
Oh, yeah, it was very tribal. He was freaking crazy.
Right.
I'm trying to think. He did useful jobs. Yeah, very tribal. Killed a lot of people. Threw them into the lake. Yeah, I suppose it's the usual thing with dictators. You get rid of your reactionary elements. You have a purge.
Yeah.
A lot of bloodletting, a lot of torture. And then you're rubbing shoulders with elites overseas and everything like that. Like he's,
Yeah.
I think there's a movie called The Last King of Scotland, which is not too bad. Pretty accurate portrayal as far as I could see.
Yeah.
Because who described a dictator as like somebody riding on the back of a tiger? And
So it was 1984 to 2008. Chile only contracted 1 year in 1999.
all right.
Yeah.
Um,
So there you are.
well,
So,
done a
I
bit better
I
than
don't think if we adopted the same thing, we'd grow as much though, because when he, you know, came in September 73, it was fucked.
yeah. Was that sort of
Yeah.
like a Chavez character before him? Have you seen Venezuela? How they had Venezuela had a
yeah,
prosperous period?
Venezuela's, yeah, they are a reverse equivalent. It's the
Yeah.
most unhappiest country in the world, pretty much. Yeah.
They had a prosperous period, but
Yeah,
it's just
they did.
really good PR that communists always get really treated with kid gloves. Like Cuba, you had Batista, and the initial thing with Batista is like Pinochet is like, oh, dictator, right wing dictator, and same with apartheid, and that's all I hear was apartheid's bad, and you just get a few rebels and they will defy it. You think, why do they do that? And of course, they're like, oh, right-wing reactionaries. And a few years later, it comes out like people are saying, shit, it was actually good at apartheid. The African population had actually increased. It actually increased. There was stability. The government was fighting off communist insurgency. Mandela was a terrorist that... which if there's a definition for a terrorist is somebody using violence to attain a political end. That was him. And ever since Mandela, there's just been a real shit show of Zuma or
Is
that
that the guy that
Malema.
was illiterate? Couldn't even read numbers?
Who, Mandela?
No, Zuma. Was that the guy that couldn't even read numbers?
I'm not sure. All I know, he's just built a big gold toilet, just looked after himself, and a big compound with a gold toilet and usual freaking luxury cars and all that shit.
I heard that Nelson Mandela. I heard that he what's it called? Like I heard the total opposite. That he was like wrongly imprisoned and he was just wanting to argue that, African Americans, should have the same rights as Caucasians. But I do know that I know that South Africa, obviously, are in turmoil because they've gone down the same path Zimbabwe went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good PR with Mandela. Yeah, a gentleman and free.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing. Yeah.
And the racist Boers.
Mm.
And he looked back on the history, and the Boers, that was pretty well empty there. And the Zulu, the Bantu, a lot of those other tribes were coming down at that time, and the Boers, the British and all, etc., settled there. They didn't conquer anybody. They didn't possess anybody. But just white man bad, and there's just pushing this agenda of this gentleman, this peaceful man of Mandela, that all he wanted was just unity and have the Rainbow Nation. And yeah, they got it now, haven't they? It's like the rape capital of the world. Murders. It's just like whites have just been totally dispossessed. Was just like that Julius Malema, that economic freedom thing, is just like wanted to do what Mugabe did in Zimbabwe, is just kill the board, take the land off them. They get on there, oh great, we got a land, a bit like our revolutionaries now. Oh yeah, this man will deconstruct the patriarchy. So just take it all, then they get it. They got no idea how to run anything because the productive people have all gone.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
This is what happens when obviously you confiscate land off, people that know how to farm and give it to people that have obviously, have no idea how to farm.
Yeah, because it's
totally foreign to them. They're done before,
Yeah, but it just seems romantic at the time,
yeah, because it felt good. We felt like good people, doing that at the time. Yeah, well now look at the queues of people lining up for food.
And yeah, because when you go against God, because basically, if it's say what you will about God and Christianity, but it's a basic thing of just like man was created first, and Eve was created to be his helpmate.
Yeah,
and all men want from women is cooperation.
Yeah.
But instead, we don't have cooperation anymore. We have pretty much a what the manosphere calls it, gynosphere or gynocentric society.
Yeah.
Where it's all about women's rights and women's empowerment. Men have been holding it back, and it's collapsing. It seems to happen when you give them rights. Maybe it's just part of a civilization.
I think when you give obviously someone, of course, too much power, like way too much power, I think obviously, they will 100%, abuse the shit out of that. Because like look at Daniel Andrews, I mean, it just disgusts me, how easy it is for him, making these extremely convenient decisions and evading this responsibility. Never been accountable.
Yeah, and just not. They've been working on this for a while, because I think Steve Bracks was doing it, where they became a master of spin.
Yeah,
and just giving the bare minimum of information and just deflecting all the time.
Oh, and always, what's it called? Buying yourself time.
Yeah, and
Andrews,
to his credit, he just, like that big lockdown last year, just 100 days in a row, just pissing in people's pockets every day, just getting things down to micromanaging and angling. He's right in his element there, because
he micromanages the fuck out of everything. Yeah.
Because behind the scenes, they're all patting each other on the back, they're all having their little celebrations, giving each other awards,
And I mean, they're so pathetic, aren't they? They're, his supporters, how much they pat them, they pat their side of politics on the back for very little.
Yeah, I think it's because they hate the other side so much that
Well, they love their own side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No matter how evil and how stupid it is, and
Exactly.
how much against them they are. What they call about the useful idiots.
Yeah.
I set traps for my useful idiot acquaintances all the time.
I mean, they really lack that curiosity gene. Like, you don't even have to be smart to see that this is bullshit. You just need to be curious.
That's one of those boggling things where you see people, they're insightful and perceptive in all other areas, but when it comes to just the habits and the dodgy bullshit, I suppose they don't realise that the world's changed. They still think it's. I still think a lot of people are still stuck in the 1980s. There was clear delineation. There was the Liberals, and in the Liberals there was wets and there was dries. It was your dries like John Howard, Alexander Downer, and there was your wets, I suppose, like John Hewson or Andrew Peacock. They were a bit more lefty. Then you had your Labor. They were like the old union people.
Man, I wish I was a bit older. Like, I wish I was born at the beginning of the 80s as opposed to the end of the 80s, because then I could have seen, and I think I would have been able to know more about, obviously, I have a pretty good idea of the Pinochet era, but obviously I never, visually, of course, got to see that live, but also, that Tito guy, the Yugoslavian, because I think that he was, even though he was, a lefty, on the left, I think he was a libertarian lefty, like, Maureen. So, you need to have, I think, a dictator that obviously isn't a fucking retard, isn't in the top left-hand corner. Like, I'm not saying you have to have a dictator, right? What I'm trying to say is if you're going to have a dictator, it's got to be anyone but, an authoritarian leftist, I think.
Gee, that's a hard one, isn't it? I mean, the left have got retardation and slaughtering down to a fine art.
Yeah.
But then again, so is the religion of peace. And that's not really lefty.
Well, I have to admit, as shit as their goals are, they are efficient. They put it into action real efficiently.
Well, they have got a bit lefty, actually. In Brunei, about the Sultan of Brunei.
Yeah.
Like a lot of oil money. Oh, fuck. What an opulent palace. He's got a huge collection of Ferraris or just luxury cars. But, yeah, they have Sharia. And so if there's couples there that are unmarried and they're holding hands sitting in the park, they can get whipped.
Yeah.
And their equality, how they've got a bit lefty is they've now got females trained to whip other females. So they're doing a bit of equality for any breaches of Sharia. So we are seeing progress on that front where men aren't whipping women, women are whipping women.
Women are whipping women.
yeah.
Fun fact.
Because the left always go out of their way to protect Islam.
Oh man, Brunei's a really small country.
Yeah, it's the shittiest airport for such a wealthy country to have the shittiest airport.
God.
I couldn't think of any more joyless than that place.
So basically, what's it called? It shares land with Indonesia.
Yeah, it's on the big island of Sarawak or Kalimantan.
Yeah, because
yes, Indonesia, Malaysia.
Not to come off, retarded or anything like that, but I wasn't sure if it was in Asia or Africa, so I looked it up.
It was really it was a little kingdom, and the British colonized it. Maybe the British helped with the oil. There was a bloke called Brooks who was quite instrumental there. I think.
Oh, actually, apparently they share land with Malaysia. My bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Sarawak. Maybe that's all Malaysia. A lot of timber in there.
Because I thought it must be Indonesia because I saw the Indonesian name and not the Malaysian name because of like, you know, where I was looking at the map, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Malaysia wasn't in the screen, you know.
It's in that sort of grey zone of Malaysia, Indonesia.
Yeah,
Southern
exactly.
Philippines.
In that general area, yeah.
Yeah, sort of Malay people. And the airport, like I flew on Brunei Air because it was cheap to go to Asia.
Yeah.
I had quite a long stopover at Brunei Airport.
Mm.
And it's like the internet shuts off at like, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And they have a Islamic prayer room. And I said, is there a Christian prayer room? It's like, no. And I thought, gee, at Melbourne Airport, they got a Muslim prayer room. What happened to equality? So I just spent a lot of my time. I had a bottle of rum, actually. I probably, if I got caught, I would have been whipped. I had my ass whipped into Kingdom Come. But I just spent a few hours there just drinking this rum slowly. Just, I think I dyed my hair and I shaved. Yeah, and I think I had one of the most thorough shaves I'd ever given myself as I was sipping on this rum.
Yeah.
Luckily, nobody smelt the rum because there was people coming and going in the shower. At least they had showers there. But what a fucking horrible airport. You're not allowed to do anything. The VIP lounge would have been good, I suppose. You might have had, like, watch movies, but you could just walk around this freaking primitive airport.
Mm.
Oh,
Sounds pretty funny, man, you know, because, like, you know, you might accidentally, like, end up landing there and think, oh, man, this is such a shithole. But like, if you're, you know, stranded there for a, you know, prolonged period of time and you're like, fuck it, I'm bored. Like, let's just see how bad this place is. And then, you know, like you find that it's way better, you know, be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Well, it was not there to make you feel better. Like
Mm.
you had some really long stopovers and there was no sort of couches where you could stretch out on.
Yeah.
I think the showers is about the only good thing. The good thing about Islam is that you've got to wash before you pray.
Mm.
You've got to make sure you're clean. You're very clean.
Oh, pure. Yeah.
Yeah. If you even if you fart and you start to recite the prayers, you got to stop and start again. You know, and you know, wait for the air to be cleansed before you start.
Maybe you know, give someone a hose to obviously, you know, wash yourself out, eh?
Cleanse the body of sins, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was some people, it was a really long stopover because that was the price you pay for a cheap flight. They did have a smoking room to their credit. You get a lot of airports that don't. Agents a bit more relaxed about that.
Yeah.
But there was people, I should have got on it, but they had a tour to go downtown, you know, a bit of a tour around, is it Dar es Salaam? I think the city. Very clean, very wealthy, like very, hardly any poverty there unless, you know, it's by choice.
Oh, yeah, I get what
So
you're
much oil
saying.
money.
Yeah. You just basically, what's it called? You know, you basically have a death wish, you know, making the worst possible decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very wealthy country, but really strict Sharia. And
Yeah.
you just think you're just like a little bit of room to move.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, you're talking about, you know, Pinochet and stuff. Well, I think the West will have to get to such a stage where it's collapsed. It's got that shitty that only something as brutal as Sharia or Pinochet or a Tito or a, God help us if there's a freaking, you know, like a mass murderer like Idi Amin.
Yeah.
Like Idi Amin was freaking crazy. He just booted out the Indians who were the productive people.
Yeah, because I heard he was a pretty, ruthless dictator. murderous, like you were saying.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
seem to get to a stage where, okay, I've got power and I've got to stay in power. So I've got to get rid of this mob and that mob and reinforce the military. You've got to keep the military happy.
Yeah, because
And-
I guess you do kind of have to kill anyone who opposes you, don't you? Because they're trying to stop you from obviously doing what you're trying to do that you believe is obviously good for the country.
Yeah, and you've got people that are working for you, like generals, public servants, and
Yeah.
you've got to keep them happy,
Mm.
and you've got to keep the mob happy. So you've got to find somebody else to blame.
Yeah.
While you're
And you
purging
can't
them.
really do that, obviously, if you've been dictator for a number of years.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you start running out of people to slaughter, so the slaughter goes up and up and up,
Yeah.
and to the point where it gets people start getting really unhappy with it, like the mob get restless, and his own generals and such like just start to think, well, this bloke is freaking crazy, so they start looking. I think that's what happened. Maybe there was Tanzania or some other army invaded. Like they just got so sick of the excesses and all the bodies piling up and all the human rights abuses
Yeah.
that, maybe he slaughtered, some people that were too close to him, and you start getting betrayed. So he flees to the,
Well, that's what Stalin did in the end. That's why he had 5 days of suffering to death.
because he died alone, didn't he? He had a brain
Yeah.
hemorrhage.
Yeah, there was no doctor to, make his death less painful for him. Yeah, he had them all killed. So he completely effed himself in the A.
He was a weirdo, that bloke. He that's right. He had a duck. Is it called a Dutcher?
It is pretty hilarious how leftists think that like Che Guevara, how they think, that he's so me, kind of thing, when obviously there's such a massive difference, if you get what I'm saying. Like, these people they look up to, like that they had like obviously their ideology was absolute trash, totally fucking worthless, but they obviously had, like like the physical strength, if you get what I'm saying, to obviously do it, like the testosterone, if you get what I'm saying, whereas obviously these, beta cucks obviously are in no position to obviously reach those same heights and implement, the supposed utopia.
Yeah. Well, see with Che Guevara, they've always got an outcome like Chavez. They could always just say, "Oh, well, that was America's fault."
Oh, well, it's my favorite kind of gays, obviously for entertainment purposes, are the ones that, idolize Che Guevara, because he didn't even as much as support their right to breathe.
Yeah, Molly Meldrum's got a painting of him on his front, on his front wall.
Really?
Che Guevara, yeah.
But Molly Meldrum, I remember when he won $500,000 on Millionaire, and everyone was going crazy over that. He used to host Countdown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember it, but I did hear that he used to host it.
Yeah, he just
That was an 80s
babbled.
program, wasn't it? An 80s music program?
Yeah, started around about 1975. I remember.
Oh, right.
I remember when colour TV first came in. And
Yeah.
Sherbet were in there. It was like a revelation,
Mm.
because I was living in Canberra. There was only 2 channels, like ABC and some Channel 7 sort of bullshit,
Yeah.
and these potato heads. And Countdown was on, and I went to this house, and there was freaking Sherbet in their satin bloody outfits, and it was like it was from another planet.
Mm.
I couldn't believe it. Like colour TV and all these rock stars with long hair and satin. Summer love is like no other love. And years later, like being a Canberra geek, you just didn't know anybody famous, or you were just a loser. And years later, like about late 80s, I ended up in Melbourne working like at rock and roll gigs, and then the theatre, then the arts centre, and doing loadouts. And you end up seeing all these people you'd seen on TV back then, like Red Simons, and working at Hey Hey Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. He was the harsh judge.
Yep.
I
He
remember
was.
that
It
show
was.
from
Yeah,
my
it was Mizamini.
Yep.
And
He also hosted Shafted when I was in grade 6.
yeah, that didn't last long.
No, I was about to say, yeah, and I didn't. That's right.
Red being red, and it was just amazing to be a Canberra geek, to come to Melbourne and see all these people that you'd just seen on TV for years, and they were like, a bit for Australians, a bit like seeing somebody Hollywood or something,
Yeah.
like seeing Bert Newton in the flesh and various other people, and working at Pearl Jam gigs and REM, and you think, fuck, that was all right. That was good. And then you realise what a bunch of cunts. That showbiz, you got treated like shit. It was just unbelievable. The other shifts at Channel 9, and you get some people that were on TV, the policemen in this show, and the
Fuck, what are we even talking about now?
Oh, just celebrity. Seeing them on TV, seeing them on TV, and finally seeing them in the flesh when you worked at those places, like at Channel 9 at the Arts Centre.
Because like we were busy talking about like all these deep philosophical issues, and now all of a sudden, we've gone all MTV. Trash TV.
I wonder if this will get uploaded. This will have to have a trigger warning, just bagging the shit out of Che Guevara fans. And
it really is a shit show, this, isn't it now? ever since Maureen left, we all like, well, we're just going to bring the entertainment now.
Yeah, it's off the leash now. It's out of the cage.
Exactly. It's pretty much a kill stream, eh?
Yeah, there's Maureen's that sort of like, oh well, I'll have the vaccine. I won't have the vaccine, but maybe in a couple of days I will have the vaccine, and maybe I'll go to uni, but then I won't go to uni. And I'm thinking, come on, Maureen, come on, you can do it, sweetie, you can do it. And we come along, we're just like, but good on her for putting this on.
Well, I mean, in her defense, man, like she might not be sure what to do, but like we're talking about fucking celebrities here.
I guess it was just that.
It just kind of what's it called? Like went off on that tangent, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God knows how we got there, but
yeah, exactly.
I guess it's funny when you're an outsider and you finally come to the big smoke. That was the thing that fascinated me. I guess Molly Meldrum, seeing Molly Meldrum on Countdown. That's how we got there.
Well, like I said, I have no live memory of it whatsoever, but I heard and saw that he did in fact host it.
Yeah, he didn't miss much. He just bumbled his oh, yeah, amazing, yeah. Pipe, and very little substance.
And I know he obviously wore a very big hat.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
a time when he had long hair. Then he started wearing that silly hat. Yeah, becoming his trademark.
Yeah.
And Countdown got so freaking hypey and crappy in the
Is
late
that
80s.
like the equivalent of pretty much, every literal countdown, like, how Rage, back when I was, in high school at Mowbray, how, they used to, count down, like, obviously the best songs, if you get what I'm saying, was Countdown, exactly like that, was it?
Yeah, except your really cheesy stuff. Like Molly was mad on ABBA. He was saying ABBA are like the Beatles of the 70s.
Yeah.
And ABBA were just
Dancing
terrible.
Queen.
I can't say there's anything. People love ABBA. I can't see any redeeming features about it. It's just this syrup that just oozes out of the speakers.
It's what put Sweden on the map, isn't it? Apart from obviously, when they used to be, the total opposite of what they are now, when they were Vikings. I mean,
Yeah.
ABBA is what put them on the, the modern day map. The other thing they're known for, of course, is IKEA furniture.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that speaks for itself, really. Just, it's just
it doesn't fall apart easily, does it?
I had an IKEA bed. Yeah, it was just like so cheesy. I think what's
It
that,
just fell apart when you obviously when you got in it.
I like how Fight Club just ripped the shit out of it.
Mm.
Where his Ed Norton's flat is just full of all this catalog IKEA cheese. That'll go here and that'll go there, and get this flat pack and they'll put that there and they'll be there.
Mm.
And I had a bed. It was like, yeah, you got all your Allen screws, you got all this, all that. And back in the day, the Swedish stuff was minimalist and well engineered, but it also was like quality. It wasn't like particle board and really cheap fittings. Because the idea is good, a flat pack and functional. What do they call it? Machines for living.
Yeah.
But yes, cheese. And I thought with ABBA, Molly's like, oh, I like Beatles. At least the Beatles took some risks.
Mm.
ABBA didn't. It was just cheese after cheese after cheese. Knowing me, knowing you. Oh my God. And they play it here, the radio station here play it. The cheese all the freaking time.
Mm.
Dancing Queen.
I love being with mate Michael whenever M would have a house party, and I love when Mikey and I would just break into song at the same time. It's just hilarious. Like whenever we'd say something that would remind us of a song, we'd then sing the song, briefly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, as long as not ABBA, because they even the local musical.
No, we haven't sung an ABBA song yet.
Oh, thank God for that. Because even not only they play it on the radio, even the local theatre have like put on Mamma Mia, like the musical theatre.
Yeah, Mamma Mia, here we go again.
Oh, fuck's sake. Because not only is it just totally disposable garbage.
To be honest, I haven't heard much ABBA music, to be honest, like the last, I guess, 20 or so years of my life. Certainly ever since high school. I've never seen them on TV, but like when I was in primary school at Point Cook, I used to see them on a fair bit.
Oh God, though.
I don't know what the explanation for that is, but yeah, like I saw them a lot with the tail end of my childhood, and then I haven't really seen them since becoming a teenager. Well, since I became a teenager, no longer a teenager, of course, but yeah.
Well, Molly really pushed them. They got big in Australia, probably the biggest everywhere.
Yeah.
which would give them stacks of royalties. And once you get royalties, once you get a few hits,
Mm.
you're pretty well, you like the Beatles, your music just won't go away. That
Oh,
somewhere,
yeah. Like I'd said, yeah, they really lingered along, for quite a
Yeah.
while. Yeah.
yeah, no matter how crap it is, there's even people request. There's even a request show, Jukebox Saturday Night.
Mm.
And oh god, that somebody will request Mamma Mia, and you think, oh really? Oh Betty, Betty from Brook Creek has requested Mamma Mia, and oh what a great song, and we'll play that for you, Betty. And oh yes, that was Mamma Mia. Yeah, all the best, cheerio to you, Betty. You have a good evening. Look after your cats. And you think, oh my god, what? And I'm thinking, what a dunderheaded crater brain Philistine. It's just like
Oh,
nostalgia.
man.
Can't we hear something new? No, we've got to cater to the pathetic, mindless, low IQ tastes of people that want to hear Mamma Mia because, oh my God, that reminds me when I was a girl with little candy floss at the show, and you think, oh my God, oh, just that celebration of mediocrity over and over and over.
Yeah.
And then when the left want to deconstruct and dismantle it, I understand it. I understand the decolonizing and the dismantling and the deconstruction.
Yeah, but they're not replacing it with anything decent, though.
Oh, pronouns, equality,
Starvation.
camps, I suppose,
Yeah.
gulags.
Yeah.
Um,
like I'd said, like even the fucking, official, communist theme song is shit. Like that, nothing they do is actually good. Like
What
they don't produce anything of quality.
international. Oh,
Yeah.
you
Man,
know,
we need to do this more often, man. Like it's bullshit the fact that obviously we weren't zooming, for so long before. And like, this is the second, time, like you and I, have been able to obviously, have like a very, a thoroughly entertaining conversation one-on-one. We haven't had one of these, I don't think, for what, like at least half a year, maybe 7 months.
yeah, the controversial stream, wasn't
Oh yeah. Controversial it was. Yeah, well, it's just, like, not that I agreed with everything that No Holds Barred said, but like he did bring the entertainment, like he was an entertaining, like what's it called? A comic genius, like a comic savant. Like it's just so hilarious, like, his videos, and he did rap songs too, by the way. That you can find if you type in NH, BRAP. If you type that into Google, you should find his SoundCloud.
All right.
And yeah, like you'll really enjoy that music.
All right. What was it again? NH.
BRAP for rap. Because it's obviously his raps.
All right.
Yeah, you will love that, man.
Astro Division NHB rap. I've got it on YouTube here. Rap, because rap's become hip hop now, isn't it? NHB Films.
Into Google, I said.
Oh, Google. All right. It's not on YouTube. YouTube, I mean. Damn it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's battery running out on this.
Yeah, right at the very top. Yep.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if he's released a new song yet. Because he released a few new songs at the beginning of obviously the pandemic because he was bored as fuck. No, he hasn't.
All right. Well, you can only The Beast, No Holds Barred. Stream The Beast. That's the one.
Yeah, It Ain't Over, Cruel World.
I'll check it out. The battery's running low on this Dog and Bone, but that sounds good.
Biological warfare, like that's a very current one, that. Because obviously that's regarding the pandemic, of course. Pretty much the official COVID-19 rap.
All right. Well, it's good to have
Yeah.
somebody summing up the times, because this whole shit show is just fucking gone on a bit. Gone on a bit. Every freaking time that the news is on and everywhere you go, it's like COVID-19 restrictions. And I got, okay, we will have this. We'll have the bowls club open for lunches, subject to COVID, subject to when restrictions are lifted. It's almost like we're just holding on to this, what was like in the good old days of 2 years ago, where we could just go out and have a freaking meal.
Oh, I miss those times so much.
And walk down the freaking street.
Yeah.
I can't even go.
Those were the days. I miss them so much.
2 years ago. It was simpler then.
Who would have
It was
thought that
simpler time.
who would have thought that, obviously we'd miss that, like you never know how good you have it until you have it taken away from you.
Well, 2 years ago, back in those good old days, I remember Moomba, when those gangs that weren't gangs were rampaging through Moomba, spreading culturally enriching Moomba, by punching people up and the police protecting them.
Yeah, when Burke Street was being culturally enriched.
Oh, that was so peaceful. That had that car with the gas bottles that jihad. Yeah, we just had a jihad then. It was simpler. We knew when a jihad was happening, we thought, oh, another jihad, no worries. And that crazy bastard Gargaluras doing donuts in Flinders Street. Just simple times. Just in Richmond and all those terror attacks in London, just the people getting out of the van stabbing people. And Melbourne, just to celebrate culture in Richmond, put diversity bollards around the city, those big concrete blocks, and people just painted them up with like diversity is our strength, and peace and love, and
the
just
only
simple things
the
like
only
that.
good thing about being elderly these days is knowing that you won't have to endure it for much longer.
I look forward to more hashtags that kill all men, and where you stand. It's like they're over there and we're over here, and we just plod along. And those times where it's, you never know what law's got to come in taking more of our rights away.
Yeah, exactly.
just cherish.
Yeah, it really is. It really is progressively getting worse and worse and worse.
This has been a whole top left-hand corner bashing, as you would say.
Yeah.
But
they deserve it, man. I honestly do.
Since like 9/11, or even leading up to it, like there was the long march through the institutions.
Yeah.
Then finally, bang! It seemed to be just all the globalists, all the evildoers, all the blood-drinking 12-foot-high lizards, all coming together for 9/11. Bang!
Oh, I don't know that I believe that, but what's it called? I did see and hear Salty Cracker, when I was watching and listening to his video, I did hear him saying about how apparently they, the Biden administration gave the Taliban a list of American people that, were like stuck in Afghanistan. Did you hear about that? Like,
no.
What the fuck, man?
That's...
Why would you do that to your own citizens,
That's something weird, like I was saying earlier about why they shut that Bagram Air Base, like a military base.
Exactly.
Where it could have been an orderly thing of like, okay, here's a manifest of all Americans.
I don't even think that Biden's doing this, man. I actually think Camilla is.
Oh, he doesn't know what's going on.
Nah, man, like, he's just eating choc chip ice cream and sniffing kids' hair. He's got no fucking idea.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of people just formulating all the policy and making all the plans, because they've had plans for us for ages. Yeah, and say what you will about 9/11. I mean, there's just millions of conspiracy theories about it, so much written about it, but
Yeah.
it does seem to be like a lot of dodgy stuff that went on. And the fact is that one side will bring in something like the Patriot Act, and then that side will lose government, and then you'll get the Democrats in there, and they won't revoke it. They'll just strengthen it.
Yeah.
And and they seem to fight cat and dog, and they smear each other's name and all this crap. But you imagine like, say Obama and Trump, or Obama and Clinton, like Hillary Clinton, like, yeah, sworn enemies. But then you see them later on, sitting at some sort of function together, all smiling. And,
Yeah.
that Trump would rather sit down with Hillary Clinton than the people that voted him in, I bet.
Hey, man, I don't want to keep you up, of course. We've been, this live stream's been going, or, Zoom, a Zoom meeting's 6 hours long now.
Wow, it's midnight. Yeah, so
yeah,
sign
I'm
off.
not saying you have to go. Just don't feel that obligated, to be what's it called? Staying up, if you get what I'm saying. Like, don't let me keep you up.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
willing to sign out because it's midnight. Yeah, and I'm a bit stuffed.
Yeah, because you've been in bed for how long? Like at least an hour and a half, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I had a pretty busy couple of hours, like when it started, like firing up the pizza oven and cooking. It's been long. Yeah, cooked up 5 pizzas and ate, then enjoyed the show. So yeah, I'll talk to you next week then.
I love, obviously, for us to have, to speak obviously more frequently than what we have been, because like I'd said, this is the second, I think conversation, like you and I have obviously had, and like, it's thoroughly entertaining, just like the last one was.
Yeah, the comment section of the last time, like a few months ago, was funny. There was somebody saying, this was so sad.
Was that late January?
Could be.
Yeah, because we had
Could be.
it was the beginning of the year, and
Yeah.
I just saw it that obviously we were dunking on feminism. That's all I saw it as. Which Maureen knew, she was right in saying that was because that's what I was thinking that obviously we were doing, and so yeah, that's why I was obviously doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what
Because
else?
obviously it deserves to be dunked on.
Yeah.
Absolute trash, it's what it deserves,
Yeah. And like I said, like $1 billion being spent on domestic violence and not one men's shelter, government funded.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean,
that's equality. That's
was it
that's
America?
feminists' idea of equality. So
Was it America or was it Canada where they only had like, there was at most 2 men's domestic violence shelters. And
that's
they had
probably
like
too many for feminists.
And they had like 1,000 women's domestic violence shelters.
Yep, those 2 were probably too many for feminists.
Yeah.
They probably think that, what are they up to in there?
And I mean, like America and Canada, they're the biggest countries in the world. So potentially, can you imagine how far out those 2 men's domestic violence shelters could have been or are?
Yeah, I think it. I'm just stunned. I'm absolutely blown away. And
I mean, it's like, is one in like, what's it called? Like, California, and then, the other, in Maine or something,
there was one in the central somewhere, like some flyover state like Arkansas or something like that.
Oh,
And-
right.
Like the one in Bundaberg here, it's for men with children. I don't even think it's for men that have been abused. And it just shows the resilience of men, but also shows their just stupidity that the men I've talked to, they worship the vagina that much that it doesn't even come into it. And you mentioned to a woman and you're a misogynist. So
Well, in their defense, that there are women out there that really are like, wow, if you get what I'm saying, you know, like they don't even have to get naked for you to be like, God damn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the shit show will just roll on, and we'll just.
Well, a beautiful
have
girl's
less
a
and less-
beautiful girl, you know.
Yeah. A
Um,
long time since I've seen one of those. There's quite a scarcity of them around here. That
yeah.
um,
But yeah, I mean, obviously the you know, the thing that I really hate, of course, is degeneracy, you know, like them fucking dropping paint out of their vagina, you know, balls of paint. Have you seen that?
no, it sounds extraordinary.
You know, like absolutely degenerate, you know, and like I just think that one of the, you know, mistakes that Pinochet made was that like he wasn't efficient enough, you know, like for people like that, man, you know, like you just gotta like learn to fly the helicopter upside down at the academy school, and so you can just, you know, murder them, you know, cold-blooded, you know, with the blades.
Well- That's pretty creative. It's pretty creative. I did see somebody did forward. Me
I saw
something.
that in what's it called, 28 days or 28 weeks later.
Oh, is that like
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy?
It's
Funnily,
funnily enough, it's about a virus, and it's like you know, it's way, you know, more like, you know, fatal than COVID. You know, like
Ah.
you get it, you really are fucked. You know, like
Ah.
100% chance of you obviously, you know, being fucking dead pretty much, you know.
I'll
Yeah.
have to look it up. It might be on. It gets some free movies on Odyssey.
You know, it really fucks you up, you know, like you're no longer human. You know,
Ah.
you're you know, obviously gonna fucking bite people. You know?
Because there's a movie called Contagion with Jude Law, and that talks about. It has a lot of spoiler alerts. You know, about mentions social distancing.
Oh well, I've heard Marky saying that, you know, right now pretty much the movie we're in is V for Vendetta.
I
Apparently
think that's on Odyssey. I'm trying to watch that again. I found it-
Apparently that's about a virus too. You know,
Oh, right.
and yeah, I
saw it
think
ages ago.
I think it might be like, what's it called? Like, you know, deliberately orchestrated, if you get what I'm saying, you know, like planned, like it's planted on the people.
Well, the timing of this Wu flu was pretty good, wasn't it?
Oh
'Cause you
yeah,
think-
like I actually think they deliberately produced it, not just exploited it, to be honest. Like I've long been massively suspicious just because of, you know, how extremely, you know, well it's worked out for them.
Yeah. And society destabilized enough where relationships between men and women are quite weird, you know, with consent and with all this biased divorce and domestic violence laws.
I'm all for getting, you know, the Sheila's consent in the beginning, but like after that, like she's got to tell me herself, you know, if she's had enough, you know, like I shouldn't be having to ask her literally every sex act, right? And I you know, not really sexually active, not really my thing to have sex, but like you get what I'm saying though. Like no one should ever have to, you know, constantly be asking literally every sexual act, you know, do I have your consent?
Even then, you're not protected because
And
if
it would
she's
ruin
a
the
little bit
moment anyway.
drunk- Pardon?
It would ruin the moment anyway.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. it's just created by people that have got nothing to do with just for nitpick and punish men.
Yeah.
Because not engage in any actual productive work, but just think, well, that's how we can just make things nice for women and nice and safe for women and nice and safe. And men have got this in their heads and they're sort of going for it. Like you get footballers all juiced up and have just won a premiership, and they just want to just let the beast out of the cage.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody's pissed. Then, oh my God, I feel a bit unsafe and I feel a bit terrible. You think, why the fuck? Because that thing of taking personal responsibility is misogynistic. So I think that I just back out of that if that's going to be like consent. I see that in like toilets. I go to this Aboriginal centre or some health centre that has a meeting on, and in the toilets there it has like condom, consent, and something else. It's got to be this checklist, before you do the wild thing.
Yeah.
Consent, like as if you're freaking children, as if presuming men are just uncontrollable rapists, with this rape culture.
Oh yeah, like I legit saw on TV men are perverts. I legit actually saw them and heard them saying that. Like I couldn't believe that, man. I mean, like, that's just so bad. And then this other channel, they said that men are lazy, and I was like, you know what? This isn't so bad.
Yeah, all shame. Yeah,
it's all relative,
Yeah, it's all shame.
Yeah.
And you just feel like, well, okay. And then you see what they produce, and this bloke forwarded me this thing of hopefully, like trying to shock me with some of the latest edgy left-wing entertainment. And it had a whole lot of millennials in an office, and there was all gender pronouns and all sorts of sensitivity training. And there's a Muslim, your token Muslim girl, but she doesn't wear the hijab, but she's a Muslim anyway, but she goes out and gets pissed with the girls. And then she had something with her vagina. There was either something stuck up there, and it drew it out. And I said to him, what's part two? I bet it's like doing a dinner party with period blood. And he said, well, you're not far off. There was something else, all just based around the vagina or something like that. And I'm thinking,
God.
You wanted to get masculinity out of the equation, like all this, what do they call it, masculinity purging. So all your action heroes of the 80s all got replaced by soy boys, or you get women to take the place, and now women's entertainment is there. So you get idiots like Amy Schumer with my vagina.
Yeah.
Totally unfunny and stupid.
Well, it was kind of funny at the start. At the start, I was legit laughing. But like when you're making the joke for like the 10th plus time, it's not really funny anymore. If you get what I'm saying. Like at the beginning, it was funny because like it was like shock humor, if you get what I'm saying. Like, wow, like I can't believe, like, what's it called? Like, that's, I admire your, bravery, obviously, saying that out loud kind of thing. But like after the 10th time, like the 10th plus time, it just isn't really funny anymore because it's been done to death. And there's so much other shit to make fun of.
Yes, yeah, I didn't find it funny at the beginning. You must have seen, might be a generational thing, but her and Silver Silverman just totally freaking unfunny. And I thought, is this going to last? And she did that movie Trainwreck, Amy Schumer, and I think I tried to watch it. And I just started to feel like I was losing blood. And that's the indicator. Maybe I think South Park took the piss out of it, didn't they? Thank God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and it's totally deserved. If it's been like done over the top like that, you should be made fun of for just fucking only saying only telling vagina jokes. But I heard that she stole a lot of jokes. I think the jokes that weren't about her vagina. I think she realized she couldn't just make vagina jokes, and so she stole other people's jokes.
Well, it hasn't been much since.
Oh, right.
There was a local thing. There was posters up I saw around in this hick town, and it had a picture of this woman that was on it, and the show's called Boobs. Jessica, someone, I forget her name. Boobs, and you think, wow, if it had been 20 years ago, it would have been a little bit of flirty burlesque, or
Yeah.
But now it's like this one woman show of, I don't like my breasts. I'm not going to have kids. I don't like them. They're intrusive. So I cut them off. And it's taken me years to get used to the idea of not having them there anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what a fucking horrible thing to make a show about. Of just basically what God gave you, of hating it that much, of getting a double mastectomy. And I don't know if she just takes her top off in the show, but she's topless on it, but it doesn't show like the titties. Just I thought, this is like the end of the freaking world. Where it's not entertaining. How's it entertaining? Is it just like women, my body, my choice? If I want to cut my boobs off because I don't want to have any kids, or I'm neurotic, and that's what gets me about women. Is just that fucking, I don't know, and I don't know, I'm so vulnerable. I'll cut my tits off, but is it the right thing? And 7 years later, and I'm still having feelings about whether I did the right thing. And I think, oh, fucking shut up.
Oh man, that always saddens me when they do that, when they cut their tits off.
Yeah.
Oh man, like it's so depressing. Oh, she's no longer so hot, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what girls are you into, out of curiosity? Like, what girls do you find attractive, or have you been finding attractive?
Ones that can string a sentence together.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Who would I like? A woman can. I'm trying to think of.
I love those short, bussy sweethearts. To be honest, like I love those girls. Yeah.
I don't know, because like movie stars, I mean, the scripts are just so bad the last 20 years that is there anybody that crops out that like?
Well, what's it called? I guess it's all relative, and you might find women, I guess your age may be attractive. Like I have heard the joke being said before that that you're old when like you see a beautiful girl and you think that her mum must be attractive. I did see a comedian make that joke before.
Who would I see as a hornbag? I don't know, but
it's not in our group, of course. If you were thinking that, it's full stop.
I'm struggling.
Your whole life. I'm sure you've seen girls in your life, and you were like, wow, man.
Yeah, but it passes. I mean,
yeah.
Like I've been a lifelong fan of Sean Connery.
Yeah. I remember him from my childhood.
Yeah, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, in primary school. Oh no, sorry.
Charisma,
I was thinking of the other guy. I was thinking of the Scottish guy, I think.
Pierce Brosnan.
Bill. I was thinking of Bill Connolly. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking of Bill Connolly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all right.
Sean Connery. That was the guy that I think. Yeah, that was the James Bond film, was it? Or no, Entrapment, when he said that if I'm late, I'm dead, and then he was late, but wasn't dead. Do you remember that? I think that was Entrapment.
Oh, Catherine Zeta-Jones, that one.
I don't know, maybe.
She's a hornbag. I liked her. Yeah, she was probably one of my favorites, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
She was in Zorro,
Mm.
The Haunting.
Mm.
It's Entrapment with all that sort of gymnastics around
Mm.
lasers, some competing with Sean Connery
He was quite
for.
the intellectual, wasn't he, Sean Connery? So it was fitting that obviously he was the main male character of Entrapment. He's the sort of guy that, you know, you would envision would say Entrapment.
He was just incredibly charismatic, and he challenged himself. He was a really good actor. Yeah, he's one of my favorite all-time actors. Yeah, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
As far as women that I'd found really alluring,
Yeah.
when I was younger, Ingrid Bergman, but that's going way back. I mean, that's even before my time. The 1950s Hitchcock films. Grace Kelly. But it's funny, you find out, all these people, and you find out they're actually terrible people. Where I think Sean Connery had integrity. I think he donated a fair bit of money back to Scotland. He made money, but he also helped Scotland. Pierce Brosnan, I like too. I think he's a good man. He's got a good film called Matador. I like that Asian actress, Lucy Liu, and Fan Bingbing, and Michelle Yeoh. I like her. She was Malaysian Chinese. She was in maybe Crouching Tiger, because I used to go down to Chinatown a bit in the early 90s, Chinatown cinema, and I used to have these shoot 'em up, punch 'em up movies, Jackie Chan, Chow Yun Fat, and they were really good movies. You'd see some pastiche of a Hollywood movie called something like Lethal Terminator, and they'd be shooting the shit out of each other like Hong Kong gangster films. Flat on shootouts and blow them up and punch them up. And then once Hong Kong was ceded back to China, the films just got bland. And after year 2000, like after Fight Club and Matrix, it's been hardly a memorable film made since then. I'm trying to think the last 20 years that I'd think, geez, I'd really like to see that again. They just seem to be just so watered down. Bad Santa, I suppose that was a good one. That was about 2003. That was laugh out loud, and that was funny. And Idiocracy was good.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. Apparently that came out when I was in year 10.
Yeah,
I saw that with Marky and Mate of Ours.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I've just
them over last year.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
As far as our group, I think all the girls, I think they're sweet. They got good hearts.
Yeah.
Like us, like anybody else, they have their struggles, but
Exactly.
I think they've got good hearts, and if they just keep their eyes open, and which they will, I think, because they're thinking women that good things will come out of it. They'll survive, because the ones that don't question anything just go along with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever see that movie, The Pianist? I suppose Roman Polanski.
Oh yeah, the fucking pedophile.
The Penis.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was
no. Roman Polanski is a pedophile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hollywood and pedophiles.
What's it called? He was like, God, he molested someone, didn't he?
Yeah, it was some underage girl, I think, in a bathtub taking photos and stuff.
Yeah. That's right.
He didn't go to jail.
Yeah, no, that's convenient.
And
in fact, that they gave him a standing ovation.
Yeah, I think Meryl Streep was a big fan, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about it. I mean,
I have to admit though, she is a great actress. Like she did a really great job, playing Margaret Thatcher, considering the fact that they think nothing alike.
Right, because she's the Ice Queen. Helen Mirren did the
to
Queen.
me, To
you
me,
get-
that's what makes someone a great actor, you know, or a great actress, when they are able to portray someone that, you know, that thinks nothing like them, you know, or that they think nothing like, if you get what I'm saying, and they can make you believe, you know, that they are actually the person they're playing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They're like getting inside the character and
Yeah, exactly. Because to me,
It's-
that's what really makes a good actor or actress, is the believability that you actually are that person.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see that. I always found her to be like a bit of an ice queen.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, like Glenn Close, the bunny boiler, you know, just
Right.
like, you know, The Devil Wears Prada. She was in that, played a real bitch. and I
Yeah,
thought-
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I really enjoyed that film. The film was really
So-
fun.
Something like Maggie Thatcher's just sort of like just switching ideologies from being woke to being, you know, the Iron Maiden. It's not that
and
much
that,
of a
that,
stretch.
they think nothing alike. They think nothing alike. And I totally buyed that she was Margaret Thatcher. Like, I totally believed that, pretty much, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I knew that it wasn't, but you get what I'm saying, though, yeah?
Yeah, I might check it out because
Yeah.
I think I think that's a good thing where they actually do a good job as well, because a lot of time they just get the actor to look just like the, you know, have the mannerisms of the person they're imitating, because actors are cattle, basically. Like, you know, they're just this empty shell, and they get given a script, and it's sort of like, oh, well, you just got to build the character and get inside the character and feel the character and be believable in the character.
Yeah, yeah.
And in a way, it gives me the creeps. In another way, you think, well, that was a really good characterization of that character.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you get originals, and then people parody them forever, you know. And getting those people to look right, in that role, you think, yeah, there is a certain amount of skill in that, of
Yeah.
imitating, like Joaquin Phoenix in playing Johnny Cash, you know, Walk the Line.
Because these retarded leftists are like, you know, you shouldn't like play a gay character unless you are gay. And, you know, like, that's got nothing to do with how good of an actor you are. It's how good are you at pretending that you are something that you know, absolutely aren't.
Oh, there's somebody that copped it recently for that, wasn't it?
That you think nothing alike, kind of thing. You have nothing in common with this character. Oh yeah, what's it called? That was fucking what's it called? I should know. Scarlett Johansson.
Hey, hold on a sec. Emily Shanahan entered the waiting room. Do you know Emily
Yes,
Shanahan?
yes, she's my friend. She's, in fact,
All
she's my one of my best friends.
Shall I
Yes,
admit that?
I actually asked her to come on. Yeah,
All right,
except-
because it said admit. Are you a moderator?
well, it's come up for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, I just can't find it now. Participants.
Yeah,
She
agree
entered
to it. Accept.
I can't find it anymore. Raise hands, security, waiting room. Let's see. Yeah, I'm in waiting room.
Yeah.
Chat
Accept
with-
her. You'll like
Yeah.
her because she actually apologizes for her own gender.
Oh no, she's gone. She's gone. This is still recording.
Yeah.
Come back, Emily. It just popped up for a second and it's gone. Yeah, I'm gonna bugger off anyway. I'm out of gas, mate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. No worries. In that case,